Hello and welcome back to Xpwaste, where if I was a troll in Weiss, my name would be Honey Bunches of Oats. Hi, my actual name is Michael.
And my actual name is Oxie, but I think you've ruined my morning because now I'm gonna have to think about what my troll name would be. I think today it would be coffee with cream and chocolate chips because I ran out of sugar packets. Anyways, we're already off track. It's been a hell of a day so far, folks. Good morning. My name is Oxie. This is the Xpwaste podcast. We talk primarily about old school RuneScape, and I promise you the previous 200 episodes don't start as shambolically as this one does. If you're here for old school RuneScape content, you're in the best possible place. We are pretty cool and we know a lot about this game. And we're going to talk a lot about this game. Specifically today, we're going to talk about raids. So buckle up for that one. If you're not new around here, oh, what a day, folks. What a day. Yeah, it's Tuesday morning. I got the day off of work and we were able to record on a Tuesday morning. So yeah, that's why we're a little shambolic. So happy 9:30 recording session. How are you today, Michael? What's going on?
You know, I'm fantastic. This is a better outcome than what was going to be the episode. So a little peek behind the curtain, if you will. We were going to record Sunday, like we always do, but I had the busiest day of my entire life. Not really, but like it's up there. It was a very busy day. It was my son's birthday party, and I was out in the sun all day because we did like a party at our local rec center where they have a pool, and I didn't wear any sunscreen. So I was physically and metaphorically cooked. So we sat down to record at like 7:30 my time, and I told Oxie, I'm cooked. Let's do it either another day or let's not do an episode this week. And so we kind of coordinated on what day would be best, and that is today, which you guys, it doesn't matter for y'all because you're still hearing this on Thursday, but for us it's Tuesday. And that almost never happens that we record the episode this late in the week because Oxy and I both have jobs. So like we have to record on a weekend or we have to record like on a weekday evening. So this is kind of a new one. We haven't done a weekday morning in a long time. I guarantee we've done at least one or two because there was a point in time where like I had days off during the week and Oxy was in college. So like he wasn't working, and we probably coordinated a time where we recorded on like a Monday morning. But boy, this is different. I've got coffee. I know I sometimes have coffee on Sundays, but like it's in the morning. So I'm doing good. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee real quick. Cheers, mate. So today is Tuesday. I've played a bit of RuneScape this week. I've been fishing my booty off. I got a master clue step that wanted me to catch a sacred eel. And at the time, I was like 79 fishing. So I was like, damn, actually I need 87, but I can +5 boost. So I'll go to 82. And that's what I did for the last like week. I've been catching, I've been barb fishing and just going for it. So I got 82 last night and I did the master clue step. And then from there, the next step after that, I needed spined legs. And I looked on the wiki, and the only two ways to get spined legs are make them yourself or kill Dagannoth Supreme. And as it turns out, I was actually at work. So I got 82 yesterday morning. I was actually at work, and I was not about to do Dagannoths on my little MacBook that I use while I'm playing at work. So what did I do? I killed Dagannoths to make the legs. And it's not as straightforward or easy as you would think. This step actually took me a while to get the spined legs because you have to kill specific Dagannoths to get a specific hide. And then from there, you have to get more hide, which isn't a guaranteed drop. And then you have to take them to this guy who makes them for you. So you have to get the stretched hide from the ranged variant Dagannoth. And then you need 2 Dagannoth hides, which only come from the melee level 90s in Waterbirth. So I want to make the whole spined armor set because right now I have the circular hide and the flattened hide, which you need for the helmet and the body. but that requires me to get at least 4 more regular Dagannoth hide, which the next time we go to DK's, I'll just pick those up because they're a guaranteed drop from the big guys. So we'll have full spined, which I don't know what it's good for. Like, it's quite honestly dead content, but we'll have some spined armor in case we need it for clues.
It'll go nicely in the POH is what it will do.
Yeah, I've got all the armor in the POH as it is, because I got the gloves and the boots from the Dagannoths. And then you need to make the hide. You need the hides to make the legs, the top, and the helm. But needless to say, though, the Master Clue is trash. One day I'll get a Bloodhound on my Iron Man, and it'll be the best day, because I'm going to keep on doing Master Clues. I've got a system worked out, and I say I have a system worked out. It's like when Trump thinks he makes up words when he actually doesn't, because this is probably what everybody does when you have a Master Clue stored at Sherlock.
Mm-hmm.
You have a Master Clue in your bank, and then you get 4 of the clues already to turn into Sherlock.
Michael has finally discovered how to get Master Clues. It just hit me right now that you've never done that. You've never done the triple master method.
Never.
Oh my God.
It's brand new tech for me.
Wow.
Which, again, I didn't make it up, but I am definitely utilizing it, and it's quite fun to get clues now. Like, if I'm getting a clue from like fishing or woodcutting, I'm like, hell yeah, I get to put that one in Watson, and then I'll get another Master Clue, because at this point, I think any clue that I get is probably going to go towards a Master Clue. There's really
just
nothing
for the Bloodhound.
Yeah, I know it's like crazy rare, right? 1 in 1,000, but still could get spooned on it. I don't know anybody who's gone like super dry, but it's a good pet, and I really want it. It would round out the pets really nicely. But that's been my week. It's fishing. I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast yet, but I got 95 Slayer. I think that might have happened last week, actually. I got 95 Slayer, and I got a Hydra task, the second task after getting 95, which was kind of cracked, because that generally doesn't happen that quickly. But my goal, and I'm keeping myself to this, I'm going to do the entire Hydra task at Alchemica Hydra. Currently, I've done like 11 out of the 140 that I need to do. So I'm not expecting anything, but literally anything from there would be cool. Any drop from Hydra at this point would be cool. The heads, even just the ring pieces, like all of it would be pretty sick to have. Because currently, I'm the only one on the team with 95 Slayer. So anything from there is like a new item. No one's obtained it yet. Beer Garden, the other PVMer on the team, is working towards a higher Slayer level, but he's only like 86, I think, currently. But he's doing like boss tasks.
You saw what Fear got the other day, didn't you?
I did. I was there, actually. Should we wait to talk about that until after you talk about your day? Or your
no,
week?
we can talk about it now. We have a second mouth to feed, and we have to put the DFS up for adoption. If anybody wants a DFS going to a loving home, we can no longer afford it, so we have to get rid of it.
So Fear Garden already was spooned a shadow. I think he got his shadow within like 15 or 20 experts. I think. I can't remember what the exact KC was. It may have been like 40. Needless to say, though, he's spooned on his first shadow. And then he was doing his first 300 with Ralph after the Toa changes. I think actually they were doing a 350. They were trying to get Ralph's backpack.
I was to say, it definitely wasn't his first, because I went on a couple of the 300s with Fear.
Oh, post changes?
We'll talk about it here soon, because that's the point of the episode. But like, damn, the changes are nice.
Oh, good.
But
I haven't tried them yet, unfortunately.
Neither here nor there.
So they're trying to do the failed backpack run. They do the backpack, they fail, and they're like, oh yeah, purple, cool. I hope it's a fang. And right at the last second, Ralph goes, I'm going to laugh if it's a shadow. And it's a shadow. Another one. 2 shadows on the account before he gets a light bearer, which is just crazy. It's insane. So now we have 2 shadows, 2 Mechans shadows on the group Iron Man accounts, and only 1 person with 90 rune crafting.
So
now,
get back to work.
You can buy them. So I should be runecrafting
Get
right
back
now,
to
but
work.
I want to get base 85s by the end of the year, and I think fishing is my brick wall right now. So we're gonna fish as much as I can, but it's insane the amount of spoonage that man has, because he's got at least 3 purples in every raid, I want to say, maybe except for Chambers. I think Chambers he only has 1 purple, but that's just because he hasn't done a lot of Chambers. But to that note, he hasn't done a ton of Tob or Toa either. He's just spooned.
Yeah.
Crazy spoon.
Like,
I thought I was spooned.
It's like 2 shadows and 65 rage or something like that. It's crazy. But
so we got another mouth to feed. You're saying the DFS.
It's the only other thing that requires a charge that we put in. Like, we can get rid of our
DFS?
Serp helms. Or, yeah.
The Dragonfire Shield?
Yeah. Like, I can't think of anything else that requires charges. Maybe a Serp helm, but like...
Well, you could like the...
But like Zulrah skills are free for us to
trident.
produce. Zulrah skills are free for us to produce. I mean, like, we could put the tridents up for adoption. We just put everything up for adoption, you know? Like a cuckoo bird, you know? Like
all of them. Oh, frick, dude. I hate cuckoo birds. They're the worst animal in the animal kingdom. That's a side tangent.
Bold words from a man who doesn't live near Canadian geese anymore, but okay.
I actually was traumatized as a kid by geese. And for the longest time I was like physically scared of seeing geese.
Dude,
as a child.
I saw a TikTok last night of a grown man walking past a group of geese, and he said, "I think I finally understand it. I think I finally understand it when women say this is how they feel walking past a group of men." And it was a group of like 12 geese, and as he walked past, they're hissing at him and shit like that, and he's like, so like, yeah, that's geese are spooky fuckers. If you don't live near Canadian geese, that's good. They're not predatory. They're not carnivorous. They're just mean. They're not afraid of people, and they think everybody is a threat. The amount of times I've been out fishing and I've had to look a mother goose in the face and say, I don't care what your kids are doing. Don't get mad at me because they walked over where I'm fishing. You don't get to do that. You deal with your children, send them somewhere else. I'm not here to bother you, right? Go away. As they're throwing a fit.
Yeah, it's like their children are acting up and they're mad at you about it.
Exactly. Yeah. The Karens of the animal kingdom. If anybody says that feathered dinosaurs are nerfed or not scary, I know they don't live in the northern part of the US or the northern part of North America. I just know it. I know it. If you don't think feathered dinosaurs are scary, I know you've never seen a Canadian goose. I know you've never seen one of them big ass swans. It's just a fact. Anyways.
You know the birds that sound like a machine gun? Have you ever seen those?
Which ones? Them big flat billed things?
Huge. Yeah,
is it the ones with the big flat bills? Like just click their bills really quick?
Yeah, Nico says shoe bills.
Yep.
That's probably the closest thing to a dinosaur I've ever seen. Not in real life, but holy cow, they scare me.
You say, what about a cassowary?
Rejected versus cassowary.
I believe those are large terrestrial Australian birds, and that is damn near a dinosaur. Yep, these things is exactly what I was thinking of. These things look and sound like a theropod, and they're horrifying. They're also big as fuck too. They're like 5 feet tall.
Holy cow!
That's where I live, where the wind hurts my face 8 months out of the year because I don't want to. I'm not dealing with all that.
That's a dinosaur. That's a straight up dinosaur.
I'm not dealing with all that.
Damn. Well, we should get back to the episode.
Yeah, we should.
Oxie, how was your week?
The week hasn't been too bad. What did I do on Monday? I did stuff. No, today's Tuesday. I'm all thrown off. I'm all in shambles. I did stuff on my main this week. I know I did. I don't remember what. I really don't. I think I did a little bit of Thermi and then did some. It's mostly been a GIM week. I did some raids with Fear and Ralph. TOA feels so much better, which is big because TOA sucks. TOA fucking sucks. And it is, superior. And it is so much nicer now on the Iron to do TOA. I'm currently training Slayer so I can get my combat stats up because it's miserable with base 80s. But I did some raids, and then raids just feel like a chore. Like Fear was kind of burnt, and raids feel like a chore when it's white light, white light, white light, white light. So we did Wilderness for a little bit, and that yielded, we got one Venenotus kill. One. and then a team showed up. And we're like, all right, it's Friday night. We're not doing this. We're going home. And what did we do after that? We did God Wars for a little bit too. We did Bandos.
Oh, nice.
We did a decent Bandos trip. But because I only have 80 defense or whatever I had at the time, I got just shit all over. Like we were there for probably like an hour and a half ish. And then it was a really bad kill where like the Ranger, the Major, and Grardor were all like, hey, let's ruin this guy's day. Like taking 60, 70 damage in one hit. So that's what my days have looked like playing. Currently doing an Aberrant Spectre's task and will probably continue to do Slayer so long as the tasks don't totally suck. That's going to be what I'm going for here because I need to get combat stats up. That's what I need.
It's the best way to do it, honestly.
Yeah.
Unless you're going for crabs or like AFK stuff, I highly recommend Slayer. And that's not just for you. That's for people listening.
It's a good way to train.
Always do it through Slayer.
But IRL, I played Go Fest on Saturday and Sunday, which I think was Michael's justification to not do an episode. Because he's like, Oxie, I'm cooked. I've been outside all day. I said, yeah, me too. I've been playing Pokemon Go all day. He's like, oh my God, we could not do it if we're both tired. I'm like, I guess not. Yeah, like I was ready to go. I posted something on my Instagram story. I'm like, gonna go play Pokemon Go all day and then record my RuneScape podcast because I'm so cool. Like I was ready to do it, but I'm fine to be here. Day off, Tuesday morning, hanging out. But yeah, that was fun. I got how many shinies did I get? I got at least 30 across the 2 days. I caught like 20 something Zamazenta and exactly 50 Zacian with like no shiny Zamazenta, but like 4 or 5 shiny Zacian. I got a shiny 98%, and that bitch is comically strong, like 5,600 CP after I maxed it out. It was my little treat to myself. Michael's nodding. He has no clue what I'm talking about. It's great. And it's just for the people that you know play Pokemon Go, because some people did respond to my Instagram story and be like, hey, I want updates. So here are your updates. I got most of the shinies that I was hunting for. I'm a shiny hunter at heart. I'm not a big raider. I'm not a big PvP guy. I am a shiny hunter, and it's very difficult to miss the temptation of like there are 18 people raiding on the corner with 4 gyms, and the raids are just cycling. So like I want to stay in raid, but also I have to go head hunting. I got most of the ones I was looking for. I missed like Jangomo and Golett. Genuinely think that's it. I think all the other ones I wanted, I got. Like I didn't get Cheshpin, but I don't agree with Cheshpin as a species, so I didn't really want that as a shiny anyways. But yeah, GoFest was a ton of fun. I haven't played that game in a while. I think after I hurt myself and wasn't able to walk, I really kind of fell off of playing Pokemon Go. But then some folks in another Discord, you know, Submediant, Fizzle, Xeno, all them, they've been playing a lot, and they kind of, just when I thought I was out, they sucked me right back in. And I had a blast. So we're already talking about a GoFest 2026 meetup just because we think that'd be a ton of fun.
Nice.
But yeah, that was my weekend. It was busy. I was walking around a lot. I've walked quite a bit. I've done a little bit of fencing, though I am preparing for Summer Nationals. So if there is an episode next week, I will not be a part of it because I will be at Summer Nationals. I will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, fencing in Div 2 and Div 3 men's saber. So that's going to be fun and exciting. Very much looking forward to that. Going with one of my old best friends. He and I are going to go stay at his girlfriend's apartment while his girlfriend is not there. So that's going to be fun. But that's what I'm going to be up to. So when this episode comes out, I will be in the car. Also, I will hopefully have seen Jurassic World Rebirth, because we did talk about that in the Xpwaste chat as well. People wanted a solo episode where I just review Rebirth, and I don't think that's going to happen. But hopefully I will have seen it, so I'd be happy to talk about it when I get to Milwaukee.
Oh, the new Jurassic Park movie?
Yeah, Jurassic World Rebirth comes out. I'm trying to go see it tomorrow. Well, tomorrow, Wednesday, so yesterday when this episode comes out. Hopefully I've already seen it. I doubt the theater is going to be sold out, because who actually goes and sees movies anymore? But I still might buy my ticket ahead of time. Maybe I'll see if like my sister wants to drive out and come see it or something, or my mom or something like that, because those are my 2 like closest IRL friends. I genuinely, I'm not kidding. It's my mom and sister. Like the person that I've been seeing kind of in the last like week or 2, I did tell them, I'm like, you are likely going to meet my mom and sister if this keeps up, you're gonna meet my mom and sister way sooner than like what would normally be like normal. Not because like, oh my god, you need to meet them. I just like hang out with them. Like they're gonna be at something. Because
Yeah.
they're the two people I just like default invite to everything, you know? So that's that. But yeah, I don't know. We're just sort of hanging out. I'm trying to think of like other notable RuneScape updates. I was really looking forward to coming home and playing yesterday, but I went down to so normally I go north for fencing. Yesterday I went south for fencing because our club is closed. And because it's summer nationals, like we're preparing for it, we didn't do the normal Plymouth 10 like we usually do. We just did straight 15 touch direct elimination bots. I did like 6 or 7 of them. And after 7 DEs, I got home and I almost fell asleep with the lights on. Like I was I was
Damn,
dying
dude.
because it's still an hour drive. So I got home and I was going to be like, dude, I got the day off tomorrow. Let's play some I was out cold in like half an hour after I got home. So maybe tonight I'll be able to do a little bit more. I don't think I'll be able to do too much Wednesday. We'll see. I like this game. It feels so bad talking about updates. I really like this game. It's just IRL has been a madhouse. So it's what my week has been like. Yeah.
2 other things I want to call out. Your week sounds great, by the way. I'm sporting the new Xpwaste dad hat. If you hadn't noticed, check it out on the Xpwaste shop.
Shilling this early in the episode. I see.
I'm just excited about the hat, dude.
I see.
Okay, so people have asked for a hat size review. I have a big head. So normally on like a snapback, I'm on like the last hole or the last 2 holes to punch them together. I don't think I have the biggest head on the planet, but I do have a big head. And sometimes when my hair is long, it like hats just don't fit me. I think I wear a 7 3/8 or a 7 and something. Whenever, you know, in like the ones that are one size. So I have a pretty big head, and this hat is not too bad. I have it stretched out in the back quite a bit, but that's just because I want it loose. And it fits. So if you have a bigger head, you know, be confident that this could fit you if you like dad hats in this style. I've got my little ramen noodles pin that my wife got me for my birthday. It's pretty cool. But yeah, dude, it's a good hat. And I got new glasses. So my other glasses, we talked about a couple weeks ago, they broke.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken me this long to finally order a new pair. I was wearing those other glasses that I literally hate. They're like they were broken on the sides, and then they have the blue light filters, and it was like reflecting. But you know, I've got a new style. These are like aviator style glasses. Pretty neat. Very excited.
No more Harry Potter.
No more Harry
Somebody
Potter.
called us Harry and Hagrid in the comments recently, which like, yeah,
that's pretty awesome, actually.
That tracks. Yeah. I can't even get mad at that one. That's pretty accurate.
I probably will get another Harry Potter glasses style, but for now we're rocking the aviators. But that's that I forgot to mention those 2 things in my update. But
the real important stuff, the fashion.
The fashion, dude. I'm also sporting the Lord of Dread shirt, which is no longer on sale because it's July. Happy Pride Month to
so
everyone.
You better be
Mod
back
North.
in the closet.
Okay.
I knew Michael wasn't going to be expecting that.
Okay. Get back in the closet. I do want to remind you, Oxie, that
I know. I gotta change. I gotta change the website.
Gotta change the website back. You gotta do it.
I know.
Can't believe you remembered. Got it. Memory's like a steel trap. And you got to turn off the sale because people can't get them at 50% off anymore. But if you want to get our merch, xpwaste.shop is where you can find it. Lord of Dread is so cool. I was gonna wear it on Sunday and talk about it and you know, hype it up before it went off. Well, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Because the episode still would have came out on Thursday. I was cooked on Sunday.
Yep.
I didn't even mention what happened that weekend. I'll quickly go into it. So Friday, I had
my man said we're
dinner with my brother.
We're never getting the main title content.
Listen, Friday I had a dinner with my brother and all of our friends and his friends or whatever. And then I stayed up too late. I I was actually sad because I was like, "Hey, Oxie, are you busy this evening?" And you're like, "No, it's fine.
No,
I'm not doing anything." And I'm like,
he didn't
"I'm gonna
ask
let's
it
raid."
like that. He said, Oxie, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. He's like, all right, we're playing RuneScape. I'm like,
I did
okay.
say that.
Hell yeah. He was real
But then-
adamant that we were gaming.
But then I didn't get home until close to 11 p.m. And so I played for like maybe 30 minutes and then I went to bed on Friday night because I was exhausted. And then Saturday I got to sleep in, which is great. But then Saturday night, I stayed up way too late. Again, I stayed up until like at least midnight. And then Sunday, like we had my son's birthday. So the whole weekend, I was just like tired and not really sleeping. And then it was just like busy the whole weekend. So it culminated into me being absolutely exhausted by Sunday night to not be able to do the episode. I don't remember why I said that, but we're going to talk about the main title content now.
Because you're just so into talking about so into talking about your week. So you're like, hey, like here's my week and here's Oxie's week and here's my week again and here's main title content. But actually, here's more of my week. Damn, Michael.
It's a good thing this is a podcast because if it wasn't, all that would have been cut out.
It still can be. It's not too late. Could you imagine we just do a jump cut? We just do a jump cut of like me being like, yeah, that's my week. and then you say, and who thought all that would have been cut out? I'm like, it still can be. Then people are just left to wonder what happened in those X amount of minutes between. You'll never know. If that all got cut out, you'll never know. You don't know a damn thing.
But how are they going to hear about my hat?
Maybe that's the mystery. I don't know. For the love of God, can we please get to main title content?
Let's do it. Send me the sheet.
You've had a great week, Michael. I'm proud of you. You've had an excellent week. It's time to talk about RuneScape. Folks, today we are going to discuss the fabled episode, One Tip for Every Raid. Remember when we did the One Tip for Every Boss episode like 4 years ago? And we said, hey, eventually we're going to do one for every raid because when we were drafting the episode up, it seemed like a bit of a waste to talk about just one tip for a raid instead of one tip for every room. Here we are, baby. One tip for every room in every single raid. So we are talking about
Monkey Room, Baba, Kefri Puzzle, Kefri, Light Puzzle, Akka, Croc Room, Zebek, Wardens, Maiden, Bloat, Nilo, Sodaseg, Zarpus, Verzik P1, Verzik P2, Verzik P3, Scavs, Farming, Tecton Crabs, Ice Demon Shamans, Vanguards, Thieving, Vespula, Tightrope, Guardians, Vasa, Mystics, Muta, Ohm, and CM Ohm.
Brace yourselves. If you've never been raiding before, this is the episode for you. Though some of the tips and tricks aren't going to make any sense if you've never been raiding because they're very strictly for like, it's like, I don't know. Some of them are for people who know the content. Some of them aren't, but some of them aren't. So this episode's actually super fun because we've called on our absolutely goated Lead Boss Tutors to send us some stuff too. And we've got some great tips for Tob and TOA from them, which is hype. So thank you, Shinkiro, for that. Michael, would you like to start us off or would you like me to start us off?
How about you get us going?
All right. I will start us off with some of this stuff here on the side. So we are going to start with, you know what they say, first is worst, second is best. So we're going to start off with Tombs of a Masket. So one general tip that was poised by Shinkiro that I really like is the order you do the rooms. Now, if you're a beginner raider, right? It was a trend for a while that you start with Croc Room. I'm sorry, that's illegal now, especially after the update. Jagex said if you start with Croc Room, we're actually going to delete your account and make you train rune crafting. So the quote unquote proper order to do TOA is Baba, Kefri, Zebek, and Akka. There are two reasons for this. Number one, it's more efficient with how you use the salts, right? I know being salted at Baba is nice, or at least it was. But post nerf to Baba, it is so much more tolerable to do Baba now that she doesn't just rock your shit constantly. Like it is. Michael, have you done any TOA since the update? Dude, it's like a different raid. I went in there on my iron and I felt like a god in some of these rooms. Like it's nice. Crazy. And like that's not even doing it on my main with his shadow and all that. Like it's crazy nice. The reason why the salts work a little bit better is the salts give a bigger boost to range and mage. And it's not that they don't boost melee, they do, but Baba and Kefri are fought with melee, right? That's the first reason. The second reason, if you're pushing higher level invos, Baba, until about 20 minutes ago with last week's update, would just insta-kill you. Like, it's not, if you couldn't red X, it's very possible that Baba killed you. So if you're doing a higher invo, 350, 400, 500 invo raid, it's easier to get the worst room in the raid out of the way. And from there, you just use salt for the other ones. So those are the two reasons that it's always been a Baba start. But yeah, Baba, Kefri, Zebek, Akka, or Akka Zebek. Frankly, I like Akka Zebek myself. I like doing Croc last, but it doesn't really matter. But what you do have to pay attention to if you're doing the order, if you have a path leveling invocation on, particularly Walk the Path, you need to pay attention to the path levels, because level 2 Akka, level 2 Croc, that's no big deal. Level 3, that's no big deal. Whenever they hit level 4, the fight will dramatically change, especially Zebek. Ask Fear about how well level 4 Zebek went for he and I and the rest of our bingo team many moons ago, when somebody, I don't know who, definitely wasn't me, couldn't have been me, just ran into Akka and made it a level 4 Zebek. Couldn't have been me. I don't know who is leading that raid, but I promise you it wasn't me.
Sounds like it was you.
It might have been. It might have been me. But pay attention if you have a path leveling info. If you have Walk the Path and I think Path Seeker, you could risk a tier 4. If you don't have Walk the Path or you don't have Path Seeker turned on, you won't get a level 4, so it doesn't matter. Just something to pay attention to when you're there. Another little general tip for TOA in general is the supply bag. Shinkiro did go out of his way to make a point about this, which I thought was pretty neat. We're going to talk about the rooms here soon, but the actual supply bag itself does have some finagling you can do with it. Because there are a million different options, take one, take all, open, resupply, destroy, so many different options for the supply bag, you can set your left click and your shift click to different things. So for me, I have my left click set to resupply, and I have my shift click set to just like open, like whatever pops up. So it's beneficial to figure out what you like. Like, there are times where left click resupply does piss me off because I do want to open the bag, but it helps if you have a bunch of brews and restores or salts, even the scarabs will get refilled if you hit resupply. So resupply just refills everything that's in your inventory. No need to worry about like open spots or anything like that. And then if you actually go in and organize your inventory from top left to bottom right, I like to do brew, restore, when everything's already in my inventory. Then when you shift click, like fill inventory, whatever the option is, it just goes in that order. Yeah. Which is nice. So just make sure your bag is positioned and ordered in a way that you'd like with your clicks and how everything is inside the bag. When it comes to actually choosing the supplies in general, if you are confident in the raid, it is power and then life every time. It is power, so you get the salts for the boss rooms and a salt for wardens, and then life, so you get your ambrosias and your brews and your restores, what you use up at Akka and Zebek. If you are a low-level raider and you are just getting your ass beat, it is okay to take chaos. It is okay to take life first. It is necessary that you have assault for wardens. Being potted it doesn't feel like it offers that much of a benefit, like, oh, maybe I'm hitting harder. I promise you're hitting harder. You always, always, always want to be salted. You always want to be potted. You always want to be overloaded. That is, in general, a rule for every room in all 3 of these raids. Always be potted. Maybe not every room. You don't need to be potted for thieving. You don't need to be potted for the fucking Kefri puzzle. But like in general, if you are fighting a boss in a raid, you always want to be potted with something.
The other reason why salts are amazing, not only because they boost your stats, they refill your stats after you've brewed. So that's something that not a lot of people who start raiding recognize. But like, if you're salted in Toa, or if you have an overload in chambers, if you drink a brew, your stats are going to go down. It's going to drain all your stats. The salt in the overload will periodically refill them without you having to sip or restore. So it helps with restore management, and it also keeps you topped up so that you don't have to worry about that. which is why salts are very important. Like you could just take super combats and you could just take like range potions and have an imbued heart, but all of those things don't refill automatically. And it's more inventory space and it's more supplies that you have to worry about. So when you're prioritizing which of the items to take from the supply guy in Toa, the spirit, the helpful spirit, prioritizing getting a salt early is very important. So either power or chaos is the one that you want to grab first, so that you have those salts for the later parts of the raid. Because you get a supply spirit every 2 rooms that you do, so it doesn't matter which order you do the rooms. After the second boss that you kill, you're gonna get a supply spirit. So whether that's second or fourth, the order is always gonna be the same, but you can choose which one you want to grab.
Also, oh my God, the deposit box. They just added a deposit box to TOA. It is life-changing. You can put shit you're not using in there away. It's fantastic. It truly feels like a different raid because it's not just, oh, I need to put some supplies away like it used to be. Like it is, you can deposit weapons, armor, any other random items. So if you're like, oh, I want to bring this one-off item for Kefri. If I just want to bring the blue Karis for Kefri, for example, you can put the blue Karis back.
Mm-hmm.
It is so nice.
I kind of wish they would have just straight up done like a bank chest like they have in Chambers.
Mm-hmm.
Because what if you accidentally put away an item you didn't mean to put away? That would suck. And then you're stuck without your shadow the rest of the raid.
It's gonna happen.
You just got to be more careful.
It's
you just
gonna
got to be more careful.
Oh yeah, I fully expect to put my own shadow away at some point. Like it's gonna be funnier that way, you know?
It definitely will.
All right, we've talked about the logistics of the tombs. Now let's actually talk about the raid itself. Michael, what room are we doing first? There is a correct answer.
So if you're doing it in the order that Oxie had mentioned before, Baba, Kefri, Zebek, Akka, you're going to actually start the entire raid with the worst room ever, which is the monkey room.
God, it's so bad. It's like they tried to copy Nilo's homework, but they did a really bad job.
Yeah.
It's a lot better now. They've cut out a ton of waves.
Dropped 2 waves, right?
They did. They dropped the first 2 waves. So you start with the meleeers and the shamans now on the very first wave, which like, I don't know how to feel about that. I tried to run a couple solo 300s and I felt very overwhelmed in the monkey room. Maybe it's because I just don't really do it solo on the main very often, but it felt quite overwhelming because there's just shit everywhere. Like you kill things so fast in a solo that the waves just sort of like pile on top of each other.
They pile on top, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't require you to finish the entire wave before the next one starts.
Yep.
So you could get overwhelmed very quickly.
In general, it feels a lot easier to kill things, but it also is like, damn, if you are not paying attention, you're going to get jumped, you know?
Well, speaking of shamans, having the meleeers and the shamans out first, our tip is to have a blowpipe and a serpentine helmet. And when you shoot the shamans, it will venom them. And I didn't actually know this, but shamans don't spawn the little guys, the little shitters, if they're venomed. So once you've got if you have a blowpipe and a serp, it's a guaranteed venom. And it's just going to save you some extra DPS not having to kill the little shitters. If you like the shitters, definitely don't do this, because a little side tip is if you're needing some heals in the monkey room specifically, you can take blood barrage and just let the little guys stack up and then blood barrage the pile. I've done that before to get some heals back. So you have some wiggle room either way. If you want to avoid that and just kill them quickly, take a blowpipe and a serp. But if you want them to stack up, take blood barrage.
Yeah. It's quite nice if you're going for time, especially to get that done. So that's pretty cool. If you're just trying to look for like a way to do it quick, you don't necessarily need a serp helm, especially if you're running like the most efficient, like 7-way switches, ancestral hat, Missouri helmet, Torva helmet. You don't need the serp helm. You will eventually venom them with a blowpipe. It might just take a little bit longer. This tip is definitely aimed more at like early late game players than it is end game players. But yeah, venoming the shamans, they will stop spawning the shitters, which is a delightful change they made not terribly long ago. It wasn't in this most recent update, but it was a little bit ago.
Very nice. So once you kill the monkeys, you can do it quickly because they changed it. Up next is Baba, big mommy monkey. So the tip here really is like it's quite new and it's actually kind of nice. I've seen it in action. You know, whenever the rocks fall from the ceiling and Baba goes whoosh and she starts to throw a rock at you. Before last week rather, there was a scramble to try and get to the nearest boulder. That is no more. Now, if you are not close to a boulder, you can actually absorb that rock damage on your nearest sarcophagus. Now, you do have to pay attention to the sarcophagus that you've most recently absorbed with because they only have 2 hits that they can take. So if you're like, oh yeah, this one's fine, and there's 2 people next to a sarcophagus that has recently taken 1 hit, sorry about you, you're gonna get damaged. So if there's a bunch of people in the raid, maybe everybody pick their own sarcophagus and just stick to that if you're not close to a rock. Otherwise, just run to a rock if you're close. But it's going to make the raid so much more chill now that you don't have to like, okay, you go top, I'll go bottom, you're north, I'm south. Like just
I mean, you should still coordinate that. Like
but you don't have to. Is the thing. It's
still
not
should.
As serious.
It's not
You
as
still
serious,
should.
but you still should.
You should, but you're not going to die if you don't.
You might.
It's going to make
you'll still take damage if you.
No, you don't. There's 0 damage. If you go to a sarcophagus,
if you
0
hit a
damage.
sarcophagus, if you don't hit anything, if you're caught in the middle of the room, you will still take like a 40.
Yeah. But if you're close to a sarcophagus or if you're close to a rock, baby, you're free and clear. And that's going to help with the old mind the gap enjoyers too, because now you can just be far away from the gap. That's a little free tip for anybody. Don't turn on mind the gap. It's the worst invocation.
Mind the gap is I think it's funny, but it's also quite free. If you're looking to up the ante in your raid without doing a whole lot of extra work, mind the gap is pretty free. You just have to know where you're standing. So as someone who very frequently is a mind the gap,
You're a
I won't say
minder?
hater, but I'm a mind the gap ignorer, I guess. I'll turn it off. I do like when people are like, is mind the gap on? I'm like, only one way to find out. And watching the scramble, it's never turned on. But it's pretty free if you're going for like a 300 plus. It's a free one to turn on. So yeah, just be cautious of all that. I think you can also tank the monkeys too for the boulder. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I think you can. You used to be able to. I don't know if you still can pre or post update because now they just take like max damage from all styles. Have like 5 HP, so they instantly get killed, and they drop like 2 bananas. So killing the monkeys next to a wall really helps lessen the amount of bananas too.
So here's the thing that you need to look out for. If you do end up breaking a sarcophagus with the rock damage, it's going to start spitting at you.
Hey, yo.
You definitely want to avoid breaking them if you can. So if you take 2 hits by it, it's going to start spitting. And if you have that invocation on that drains your prayer, it's just gonna be a bad time. So my recommendation for these before we move on to the next tip, literally just take 1 hit and never touch that sarcophagus again. Just bounce up. There's 8 of them, so you've got a lot of wiggle room.
Or just hit the rock.
Boulders, just hit the rocks.
Just coordinate with your teammates. Unlike what Michael is saying, where you can just carelessly run around. Coordinate with your teammates and just get on the rocks together. You're good.
Just go to the rocks, baby. Just go to the rocks.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
That's Baba completed. The next one is going to be, if you're doing it in the order that we recommend, you're going to hit up Kefri next. And I'm going to let Oxie take it away.
It's an intense tip. Only the best of the best can actually get this one correct. This is the Kefri puzzle room. Use the plugin. It's not even worth not doing it anymore without the plugin. Like, it was fun the first week to do no plugin and, you know, solve the math and the memory and all that. But then they released the plugin to make it not super shitty. Use the plugin for the Kefri puzzle. In general, the TOA helper plugin is good for a lot of things, which we'll talk about here very soon.
It's literally just called Tombs of a Masket. If you go on the plugin hub, Tombs of a Masket by L Lemon Duck.
Yeah,
so look for the one by L Lemon Duck.
It's helpful. Use the plugin. That's genuinely the only tip I have for the Kefri puzzle. Use the plugin.
Well, the puzzle basically solves all of them for you. Like, the plugin does all of the puzzles. You don't have to think about any of them. If you want to think about them, they're still fun to do, but you don't have to.
Yeah, so onto the actual room that has a little bit of challenge, I guess, is the Kefri room. So this is another tip from one of our lead boss tutors. You should be on thralls for this room. You should be on thralls in general for TOA, but if you are not, and just like in the monkey room, you need a little bit of healing, you can heal off the scarabs, the scarab swarms that come fly in, as well as I think you can hit the agile scarabs too, but I'm not 100% sure if you can hit the agile ones. I think that might be their whole shtick, is that they can't be hit. You can also blood barrage the meleeer too, the melee scarab when he comes out onto the field. That one's pretty nice and convenient. Additionally, below raid level 300, the partisan, the blue one, is usually going to be the best DPS. Just as something to consider if you don't already have a Fang. The blue Karis is probably going to be best under raid level 300. And then after this new nerf, well, I guess not really the nerf, the TOA changes, the Overlords don't have nearly as much health. I feel like they hit way less and they have way less health than before. It's kind of a joke, actually.
You're talking about like the mage one, the range one, and the melee
range and melee. Yeah, like they go down pretty quick. So Kefri is pretty chill. Only other thing I would add is be conscious of the poop order. It will really, really, really ruin Kefri pretty quick if you are not aware of where you're supposed to be for the Kefri poop. So if you try to get close, like I could tell you to run close to a wall, but I don't really have a way to help you visualize that. So ask your teacher about how to efficiently get pooped.
Yeah, there's
room.
When you first, and this is like not a tip. This is literally how you do the room. But when you first spawn in, the first two people on the orb order will stand in a specific spot, and it will basically trap the melee scarab so that he can't mess with you the whole time. You can kind of ignore him for a little bit. That's just a mechanic that you need to learn when you're doing TOA. If there's more than two people in the raid, even if you're doing it solo, you can still do this. So whoever you're raiding with, if you've not done TOA or you've never done the poop tech, ask about it. It's not really a tip that we have. It's just kind of a mechanic.
Yeah, I would agree. Michael, let's talk about your favorite room in TOA. Your most favoritist, bestest room in TOA. This is Michael's.
So it's the mining room where you get to skill.
Yeah, it's Michael's favorite and least favorite room it combined into one for the next boss, which is Akka.
Akka, my nuts. Akka is not the worst. It's just a lot. And before the nerf or before the TOA change, we keep calling it a nerf. Before the TOA changes,
it really feels like a nerf, you guys. I don't think you understand. Like the game feels so much easier. Michael, we're going to take you on a raid or two, and you're going to be like, wow, this is a joke. Because it really does feel like a nerf.
I was excited to do like 150 solos, not when I got a BOFA, but I think that 150 solos are just going to be free now after the changes. So before the TOA changes last week, Akka felt like the final boss. He could be like the final boss of the entire raid if he wanted to be just on his own, because there was a lot going on. Now, he only prays to one style. So if he's attacking with melee, Homeboy's just going to be praying melee. So if you have a shadow or you have a nice magic weapon, literally just use mage until he prays mage and then use range. You don't even have to get up close to him. It's really nice. Chip damage has been reduced, which is great. These aren't really tips. These are just kind of going over the nice changes. So there's no chip damage, which is great. If you don't have a shadow, use the Fang and a blowpipe or BOFA. You can use those the whole time. So the tip here really is like, just use whatever two styles you have that are better. I don't know if a Trident of the Swamp is going to be better than a Fang. It probably not. So do what feels right. But literally, there's really no tips that are going to make Akka better. You just do the mechanics as they are.
Did you talk about the mining room?
Oh, I didn't.
Because there are tips that could make Akka better. But yeah,
that's true.
I don't know.
Well, let's back up a bit. I apologize. Let's back up a bit. I'm not going to talk about Akka. That like I already gave you the tips, but I've missed the best room in the raid, which is the mining puzzle. This one is quite simple, but there are a couple things that they've done to make it easier. They reduce the health on the pillar, which is great. If you have over 85 mining, I'm pretty sure you can one down it in a solo. But if you have a shitter GIM mate who doesn't have 85 mining, you're just going to have to do a 2-down, which is fine. If you're going to do a 2-down, here's my tip. If you know it's going to be a 2-down and there's like a black orb coming at you, dodge the orb. You don't need to eat the damage if it's going to be a 2-down anyway. Oxie is going to tell you otherwise because he's an elitist asshole, but don't do that. Mama did raise a bitch, and that bitch is me. Dodge the orb.
Trust me, we
know.
know.
Food is more important than your pride and your ego. So dodge the orb if it's going to be a 2-down. Listen, if it's you're going to 1-down it or take the damage, 1-down it. Obviously. That's just cool. But if you have a shitter GIM mate who doesn't have a high mining level, just take the damage. That's my tip of the day.
He makes it, first of all, the disrespectful call out post is making it seem like I have 40 mining. I have 80. It's not like I have like 0 mining level. I just don't have 85 because that skill sucks. But the other thing that I do want to note, assuming you're using the Tombs of Amasket plugin, if you've for some reason never done it, when the orb on the statue turns green, click on the thing from 1 tile away. Click on the statue. That's how you get the quote unquote tick perfect 1-down. Again, if you've never done TOA before, I assume you're going with teachers. Your teachers will be able to explain that to you within the raid. Now, Michael, I don't know how did we leave that bit in the episode where you spoke about the fact that there's no tips for Akka?
I did. Yeah, it's in the episode.
Okay, good. Thank God. There are tips for Akka. Notably for my butterflies out there, they have changed it now. So where if Akka hits you, the butterfly is doomed. So the way they've adjusted it now is if Akka hits you once, I believe he goes on a timer, even if something like Stay Vigilant is on. So it used to be where Akka wouldn't switch styles if Stay Vigilant was on unless he hit you. If Stay Vigilant was off, he switched after like a minute or something. I believe he now switches after a minute no matter what.
Oh.
If he hits you. So if you're setting up a butterfly, don't get hit when running. And he won't change styles. The second you do get hit, you can still butterfly, but eventually he is going to change and possibly swap tank. That said, wow, him only praying 1 style, like, I know Michael said, oh, it's not really a tip. If you have not done TOA in a couple of months and you're coming back after last week's update, Akka is so, it's genuinely the most changed room in the raid. Akka only protecting the style that he's attacking with, number 1, makes teaching way easier. What he is praying, you need to be praying as well. So if he's praying melee, you pray melee. If he's praying range, you pray range. If he's praying mage, you pray mage. Shocker. Now you don't have to explain the weird prayer order of like, whatever prayer is rendered on top of the other is the one that you have to pray, or whatever we had to do the first fucking week Akka came out or anything like that. You can shadow the shit out of Akka. You can blow pipe or bofa the shit out of Akka. Hell, you can even fang the shit out of Akka because you can just stay in one spot and don't take nearly as much damage. Like I said, chip damage is gone, I'm pretty sure they said, with reduced chip damage is what it is. So now that chip damage has been reduced, you're not just getting shit all over. It's not a bruise simulator. And I hate to be that guy that brings it up. There is so much less cum. Oh my God. This isn't even, I suppose Michael's right. This part isn't really even a tip, but if you've not done TOA in a couple of months, go back to TOA. You are not going to get drenched in cum like you did before. Michael loves that phrase.
It's so cringe,
much.
Dude. It's so cringe.
But it's what it's called. I'm sorry. It's called.
It's not. The light orb phase, the enrage phase, less orbs spawn.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be professional about it, there's just less light orbs during the enrage phase. It's so gross that you say you're getting drenched in cum. As
a consummate professional, or in this case, a cum-summate professional, there is less cum to pay attention to, which is great. Oh, what a time. What a time.
You could go by its government named sperm.
Okay, that's worse. That's I can't explain.
Both are bad.
No, I see why. I feel like, to me, that's you being like one of them scientifically pedantic Like, well, actually, it's called sperm, so why don't you call it sperm phase? Like, no, that's not what it's called. But like, it's also not called enrage phase. I don't know how to explain it. Someone
definitely is.
help me articulate what I'm trying to say, because you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? Brian says maybe the cum was the friends we made along the way. It just might be. If you search the wiki for cum orb, it appears. Hold on, shut up. I'm gonna do that
No.
actually right now. Nope. OSRS wiki. I'm pulling it up. If I search the word cum, the first thing that comes up is unstable orb in Akka. That's great. That is fantastic. If you just search the word cum on the wiki, it comes up. Anyways.
I don't approve.
Anyways, next we're going to talk about the croc room. The tip for the actual puzzle croc room. This is a tip that I quite enjoy myself. Use the jugs on the waterfall in the plan. It sounds stupid, but when I say use, I mean click on the jug. So like if you might have to do an inventory switch to make it use when you click on it. Use the empty jug on the waterfall. So click jug, click waterfall. Saves you a tick. When you're at the waterfall, get in the correct position to not get hit by any of the spikes, and then click full jug, click plant. You'll run back. It should save you 4 to 6 ticks overall, which if you're going for a speed time does help, especially in a solo. I think Fear said the other day that the time you can get is like 30 seconds. I think my PB is like 34 or something like that, maybe 32 seconds in the croc room. Which does lead to my next point. Make sure you have the tiles marked. Regardless of what raid level, regardless of how many people are on the raid, make sure you have the tiles marked to be able to run through the spikes and the poison without getting hit. Because so help me God, if you're on a raid with me and that is not a full jug, I am going to look you straight in the eyes and go, jug's looking a little light there, Michael. Jug's looking a little light there, Tiki.
Every time. He without fail. He's gonna call you out.
Jug's looking a little light there, which is also part of the TOA mistake there. Tiki says there's tiles. There is. Okay, so I can't necessarily. I mean, I probably could. I could load up the main and pull the tiles, but there's
a screenshot on screen right now. There's a screenshot of where you need to mark. I'll do it for you.
We're also gonna put the tiles in the description. We're either gonna tell you what to get from the tile pack if the tile pack is good, or we're just gonna have the link. Well, I don't use tile packs. I'm old school, and by old school I mean a dumb boomer. So I've never used tile packs.
I've used it once or twice, and it's not bad. Like it's community sourced, so like the general tiles that you use for content are probably already there. Mm-hmm. Check it and see, but whatever's on screen now should be the correct one. I'll explain it for all the non-elitists out there, the people who are like, you say the jug and the right tiles, and here's what I'm going to tell you.
I thought I was doing a fine non-elitist job.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, and this is how it clicked for me, Smooth Brain Michael. This is how it clicked for me, so I'm going to try and explain it for all the smooth brains out there. True tile is a thing, right? So wherever your character is running, you're actually one tile ahead. If you're not familiar with what I mean, turn on the true tile in the ground markers or the tile markers plugin. Turn on true tile and just run around. You'll see that there is a tile highlighted. It's always in front of you unless you're standing still. So what you want to do is when you're running past the spikes, you want to make your true tile end up in between the spikes. So that even if a spike comes out and you're next to it, your true tile never hits the tile with the spikes. Because when you're running, you always skip a tile. So if there's a row of 3 tiles, you're going to stand on 1 and 3. Your character will never land on 2. So if you want to skip all of the spikes, make sure that your true tile is always going to land in between them. When I saw that visually and somebody told me that, it changed my whole outlook on true tile, because I'm like, damn, like you can just like negate mechanics a lot of different places just by knowing where your true tile is. That's the tip for you. Hope that helps.
I love how he said, I'm going to explain this in a not elitist way that's easy to understand, and then got into true tile of all things. Good Lord, man. He is correct, though. True tile is essentially how you get through that room.
Well, here's the problem with the tiles you have marked. Here's the problem. You have them marked
Because
where
I can't see him.
the tiles are not in between the spikes. You have the spikes
Okay.
marked. I'm very confused.
Okay. I'm going to break it down for you as someone who's done this raid a couple hundred times. Those are the correct tiles. You stand on the tiles that you're looking at, right? If this image is back on screen, you stand on the tiles, right? You stand on the first one. So here's how I like to do it.
Where's the first one, though? Is it?
Oh, dear God. So you're going to stand on, we're going to look at if you're looking at the plant, right? The top left. And I mean the first one for any row, right? So any one of these rows, if you stand on the first set of tiles, the one closest to the plant, I like to start on the top left. Click on the water. You have the water container inventory. Stand on the first tile or any of the tiles before the spikes that you are standing on. And then click the jug onto the waterfall. You will run right over and you'll use it on the waterfall. Save yourself a tick. When you're at the top left or bottom right, I believe, you will need to walk a single tile towards the spikes. Walk a tile towards the spikes, and then once you have walked that one tile away from the waterfall, you can run right back by clicking the jug and then clicking the plant. Once you have done that, when you're at the plant, you can click the jug on the next waterfall on the same side. So you can click on the jug and click on the waterfall from where the plant is, and you will automatically path without taking damage. And then from the waterfall, you can click right back. As a matter of fact, just because I like you guys, I'm going to show you. Let's make it seem like I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. We're just going to rip a quick, we're going to load up whatever we have, and we're just going to get in there and go. So this is how you're supposed to do it. You get into the Krondus room, you have your gear, you've taken your salts, Akka's dead, you've done the order properly. So here we are. We're going to enter the room, grab the jug, stand on that tile, click on the waterfall. I've delayed a tick there. If you take a hit going in, it's not going to matter. You click and then take that step, and that's where you go. So you see I'm not getting hit by anything. Using the water jug. All right, we've healed, and now bam. You see how my tile lines up, and we are all free and easy, good to go. Ooh, I've clicked on the statue. That's dumb.
This is kind of opposite to what I've been told, or what I literally just told them was your true tile is going on the spikes.
Is
it not?
It's going in between them. So if you look like it
is in between them. Okay.
Yeah, so it's bam, bam.
Okay.
Bam.
I think it was just the angle I was looking at.
Yep, it is. I knew it too. You're like, that's not correct. I'm like, Michael, I promise you that's correct. I don't mean to be a disrespectful bitch. I promise you that is correct. And on the same side, bam, bam. So this side, I've always felt is the easier one than the two, but I believe they're inverted on the opposite sides. So the one that is further away, see how with this tile and then with that tile over there, it's a little bit different. These are the ones where you have to be a tile away. So you're running all the way over. If you want to fill the waterfall, you're one tile out. So if you step from right here on these, see how my true tile is on top of each of these spikes? So when you fill on one of these, you got to take a step and then go. Just walk that one tile and you're in between all of the spikes when you do it.
Beautiful.
A little demo
the visual is great.
Of how in fact to do that raid. So you guys don't often get that on the show. Hopefully that was fun for you.
The visual helps. Thank you, Oxie. All right, well, we have Zebek next. After you've completed the puzzle, probably the most fun puzzle, I would say. I think of all of them, besides mining can be annoying sometimes. I think I like the water jug puzzle the most. It's probably the most chill. If you're slow, here's another side tip for you. If you ice barrage or ice burst, basically you just want to freeze or snare the crocodiles that are in the room so that they don't eat your tree. That doesn't always happen, but it can if you're slow. You just want to make sure that you freeze those crocs or kill them. Somebody you could designate somebody to croc duty. Like that's probably the e-girl role for the
Mhm.
raid is like, hey, you're on croc duty. Just make sure these crocodiles don't touch this tree. But the next tip we have is going to be for the actual crocodile himself, big old bad Zebek. Some people call him Zabak, and that just throws me off. Let me tell you, Zabak is incorrect. It's Zebek. You heard it here first. So for Zebek, you want to do at least 20 BGS damage. The reason you want to do the BGS over the hammer is that the hammer is going to do a percentage. And I don't know the intricacies here. So if you ask me, Michael, why am I taking a BGS and not a Warhammer? Trust me on this, Doug. You just need to do 20 BGS damage.
So, do you want the explanation or no?
Yeah, let's hear it because I have no idea.
So, Dragon Warhammer reduces 30% of the existing defense, but it doesn't stack from the original. So let's say a monster has 1,000 defense. If you hit it with a Dragon Warhammer, 300 defense is going to be reduced to 700. If you hammer spec again, it's only going to reduce 210 damage because it will be 30% of whatever is remaining. Now, that is a ridiculous example where 2 hammers are goated in that situation. No monster in the game has that kind of defense. Let's look at something more realistic like Vorkath that I believe has a lower defense threshold. Vorkath has 214 defense. So if you hit it with a Dragon Warhammer, at best it's going to take 60 defense away. But then when you hit it again, if you hit that same 60 damage, it's only going to take like 30 away. The BGS does the number that it hits. So for a monster with lower defense, for example, you want the BGS because if you can swing like 100, not 100, you do 100 total damage with a BGS. If you hit a 60 and then another 60, it's why something like the Duke speed run is very contingent on a good BGS hit because you can hit hard with the BGS, but it's based on the number of damage that you deal. So if you hit a 60 with the BGS, it's going to reduce 60 defense first. Now, I believe the BGS also reduces other stats in order. I want to say it's defense, attack, and then mage, because you also use it at corp. So it reduces defense, strength, prayer, attack, magic, and ranged. But it won't do all at the same time. So if your opponent has stats in any of those skills, it will reduce them in order. Which is why at Corp, for example, we dump hammers, and then we dump Arclight, and then we dump BGS, because at that point, we reduce Corp's magic level to make Corp a chicken. Not super applicable anymore because Fang go burr, but the point still stands. The reason you use a BGS in TOA is because damage reduction is capped at all of the bosses. So I believe damage reduction is capped at 20 for the 4 main bosses, and it's capped at 30 for the Warden's pillar. So you want to bring a BGS because a hammer is a bit of a waste of time because the effect of the hammer isn't going to do what you want it to. I mean, even if we look up Zebek, right? At its base, Zebek only has 70 defense. So you're only taking 21 away with a hammer. You're getting the exact same result, and I think the hammer's a bit of a scam sometimes. Plus, Zebek has 260 crush defense, whereas it only has 160 stab and slash. So you're way more likely to hit with a BGS anyways. In general, Dragon Warhammer is not good for TOA. Do not take a Dragon Warhammer to TOA. That is not the same for Cox and Tob. You have to take it to Tob and Cox, but neither here nor there. We'll get to that.
So once you've reduced the damage, if you want an easy solve for the first round of jugs, if you're looking at Zebek, if Zebek is at the front of your screen, you want to be on the left side because the way that they coded it and the way that the mechanics work, there's always going to be a jug on the left side that you can roll down to pop it on the rocks so that you can stand behind the rocks for the first screech phase or whatever you call that. For the second screech phase, you're going to want to be in the middle of the room because there is most likely going to be a solve for that one. The tip that I have, and this one came from, I think, actually back in the day, whenever the waves come out, my tip is to angle your camera so that the waves are coming towards you.
That's God. I remember that. That was such a that was a fun day.
Yeah, because it's going to be a lot harder to position yourself if you are still angling where you're looking at Zebek at the top of your screen. It's harder to see where the wave, like where the hole is that you need to run to for the wave to pass by you. If you angle your camera so that the wave is coming at you, you're going to be able to see where that tile is so much easier. And then once the wave is solved, angle it back towards Zebek and you're good to go. Don't try and do this top-down view, or like, you can change your camera around in the raid and still be good.
You want my contradictory opinion? Don't ever face Zebek. Don't ever have Zebek at the top of your screen. Always have Zebek off to the side, right? I like to keep Zebek on the right side because, number one, obviously you see the position of the waves, but you also have a better idea of where the jugs are and how far away they are from the rocks. You have a better idea of where the openings in the wave are, so you need to rotate your camera. And then also you can, I guess, kind of see better where Zebek is shooting the jugs. If you think about like depth perception, right? If I have my finger here and I'm moving it towards you, you see it moving, but you don't really know the distance, I guess, if that makes entire sense, especially if it's like arcing kind of up like that. Like, you don't know if it's moving up and down or if it's moving towards you. You do, because you're a person who can see that on the video. But if we change it to a side angle where you kind of see my finger arcing up and over, you can see more of the path that it's going in. And the Zebek projectiles are exactly the same way. So you can see what's coming out just a little bit better. And then there is like obviously there's like a tick timer from when it shoots to when it pops. You can count the ticks, which get lower and lower with every invocation level. Zebek will fuck your shit up at level 4, especially on the enraged phase. It's like kind of like Leviathan pace. It's very fast in level 4. So yeah, don't ever have Zebek. Don't ever face Zebek with your camera. Always have Zebek off to your right or left side, if that makes sense.
You've done all the waves now. That's it. If you've done in the order that we told you to do, and maybe you're watching this episode and like you've paused before you went into the room and then you completed the room, now you're at Wardens.
This is the slowest TOA of your life if you're using this as a raid guide.
Let's go. Listen, if this is like, you could probably not like, this isn't in depth, but if you're trying to do a solo 0 invocation raid, you could use this as a guide. We're just giving you helpful tips. But now you're at Wardens, and it's going to come in 3 phases. And Ox is going to talk about Wardens because this is his favorite part of the raid.
It's absolutely not. My favorite part of the raid is when I click on Osmumpton to leave it. But it's neither here nor there. So breaking it down into phases, P1, you only need 1 BGS spec. Again, it can only be reduced by 30, so 1 BGS spec is enough. You can use pretty much whatever you want on the pillar, but you don't need to spec it because you're going to need the specs for the Warden core in P2. Only exception to this rule is if you have a ZCB. If you pop a blue potion and hit a big natural or a big ZCB spec, that's the only exception to using the spec. Have one person hit a BGS and you're chilling. BGS doesn't really affect the shadow too much because the shadow will hit anything. It doesn't matter. But the BGS is very nice for anybody else, people who have BOFAs, people who are using melee. So 1 BGS hit for 30 defense reduction. I believe it's 30 on the pillar. And then just run P1 like normal. P2 is where the most helpful tip comes in. The most helpful tip at Wardens for me came from my buddy Heartless in P2. When you are doing phase 2, turn your fucking game sounds on. Look me in the eyes. I like to listen to my God, what's the like rave music? Nightcore. I gotta listen to my Nightcore. Shut up. Look me in the eyes. Turn your fucking game sounds on. At Warden's P2 and at Verzik P2. Turn your fucking game sounds on. You want to have your game sounds turned on because the skull special attack, if you hear the whistle, when you hear that, you are in danger. If you don't hear that whistle, you're not going to get hit by anything. If you don't hear that whistle, you won't get hit. If you hear the run, get out of the way. Or stand directly next to the shadow. Michael talked about True Tile earlier, which Bit of an overcomplicated description for Zebek, but helpful now that you guys are aware of it. The projectile itself also has a true tile. So it will start on the middle tile and then project itself out and miss you if you stand next to the shadow if it's close enough to you. I believe the radius is like 5 by 5. If you hear the whistle, take a couple steps away, right? The skull bomb is the most lethal, especially with the penetration invocation on, because it will turn your prayer off and Warden will just keep hitting you for 30s and 40s. Be careful. There is also a tile you can stand on directly next to the Warden, about 1 tile away, assuming you're using the Elidness. Or not, is it not Elidness? Is it who it's Temekin and Elidness, I think?
It's the one on the right.
Yeah, so I think Elidness is the one who doesn't follow you. Where you get Zebek and Baba for P3. You can stand a tile away from her on her little southwest corner or whatever it is, and it is walking 1 or 2 tiles to avoid every special. Because now the bombs no longer land underneath Warden, and they no longer land underneath the pillar, which is nice. When the kind of like the windmill comes around, you just have to take 1 step to the left and then 1 step back. This is something where if I could show you, I would.
Yeah, there's probably videos.
There are definitely videos, and then with the triangle attack where it just goes dun, 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 comes up, you take 2 tiles back to avoid the second one, and then you run right back and you're chilling. That's something to pay attention to. Those are the P2 tips. I feel like P2 is responsible for the most bullshit deaths because P3 is a lot easier.
I have a skull bomb tip.
What's your skull bomb tip?
So you explained it with the true tile, which is great. But the way that I remember the skull bomb, so there's going to be a shadow on the ground, and then from there it goes out in kind of like a square. So the way that I avoid the bombs is you have to be in a plus sign around it, north, south, east, or west. If you're in one of those tiles, north, south, east, or west, you won't take damage. If you're in an X pattern, northeast, southeast, southwest, whatever, if you're in one of the corners, you're going to take damage. So if you can't get out of the blast radius of the bomb, you want to run into the bomb, which seems counterintuitive to whatever anybody tells you about bombs. But with the skulls, if you see the shadow, run in a plus little cross pattern, north, south, east, or west, and you'll avoid the damage if you can't run out of it.
Mm-hmm. Finally, on to Warden's P3. You're almost home free from this dog shit raid. You are almost done. The P3 tip for Wardens, regardless of if Insanity is turned on or not, my tip is don't be afraid to brew up in the middle of the left, right, center phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
P3
skip an attack.
P3 is, you don't even need to skip an attack because you can brew and attack at the same time. Drinking potions doesn't have a attack delay like eating food does. And assuming the on a diet invocation is on, because it always should be, don't ever bring hard food to TOA. You can drink a brew without missing an attack, which is nice. I believe if you have a 4-tick weapon, like a Bofa, you attack on every left, right, center. If you have a 5-tick weapon, you have to skip one. So you'll hit like left, right, but not center, and then right, not left, but center, some weird order like that. Neither here nor there, though. Don't forget to summon your thralls, and don't run really far away during the enrage phase. It's kind of, I know these tips are kind of all over the place. P3 is so much easier than P2. Yeah. It's not like Tob, where the phases get progressively more difficult. P2, I think, is substantially more difficult, especially without Insanity turned on. P2 is more difficult because of the environmental specials that will kill you if something like Penetration is turned on. I've been victim to more bullshit deaths in P2 than I have P3. P3 does get a little spicy during the enrage phase. Don't run a million miles away to avoid the rock and the lightning. Just like the shadows at Fazani's Nightmare, keep it cool, keep it casual, walk a couple tiles away, try to find a square without any lightning on it. I like to have my camera zoomed out so I can see what Zebek is attacking me with. Because sometimes Zebek will jad during P3. That's such a strange sentence for someone who's never played RuneScape before, by the way. This boss will do another boss's thing, but you guys play the game. You know what I mean. Be aware of where to stand. Be aware of what Zebek is shooting at you. And the enrage phase is pretty smooth until you start last rowing with Insanity.
Oh. My tip for that is if you're newer at TOA, prioritize staying on the left side because
Yep.
it's closer to Zebek and you can see those projectiles. A lot of the times, if you're running with somebody who is more of like a seasoned raider, they will just tell you, hey, go on the left side. And you don't really want to stand close to your fellow teammates in that enrage phase anyway, because there's just a lot going on. And maybe you stepped on somebody's boulder, or like you stepped in the path of somebody's boulder as they were moving away. And like, if your team can just spread out, that's the best chance you have for surviving. And newer players should stay on the left side. And when we say left and right as a relative direction, you should always have your camera facing Warden no matter what. So when we say left, it's this like your camera should be facing Warden. If you're doing if you're doing Wardens with the camera
you do
position
Zebek?
behind,
Dude, that first of all, that is insane. I have had to get B-roll shots where you kind of turn your camera to the side. We talked about depth perception for Zebek. It is so shitty. It's so shitty to do that. I've had to get like, you turn all your tiles off, you turn all the names off, or you leave the names turned on, whatever it is, and you like turn your camera to the side angle to get good B-roll with everything shut off. It is a horrible experience. You're taking so much damage. Because I'm bad at the raid, but
yeah, it's terrible. So yeah, stay on the left side. And then for those of us who do get panicked during P3, because Oxie's right, like P3, while it seems like there's a lot going on, P2 has so much more. So once you actually get to the left, right, center, what you need to remember during that time when you're just moving is prioritize getting to the spot that you need to get to and healing up. If you can't do that, you're going to die. Like if you mess up and you go to the right side and he throws up those tiles and the floor nukes you for like a 30 and you're panicking and you go to the other side when you should have gone in the middle, that's like 60 damage off the rip. So stay calm, make sure you get to the correct position, and don't worry about DPS. Stay alive, and then once you get back into cycle, then you start shooting again. If all goes wrong, make sure to click white. Just drink the ambrosia. That's the coolest thing about TOA is the fact that they give you a panic button, and the ambrosia is your panic button. There's seasoned raiders out there who have done the highest invocations possible. They have thousands of TOAs, and they probably still click the panic button. So it's not bad. There are people who don't need it, and maybe if you're running with some experienced raiders, they'll give you their ambrosias. But for the most part, make sure you have your ambrosia in your inventory for wardens, and you should be good. Shouldn't die. Man, we've cleared the worst raid in the game. Some would say it's better now, but I think Tob and Cox are just fundamentally better raids, in my opinion. I haven't done enough Tob to like justify that statement, but I know for a fact that I probably would enjoy Tob and Cox more than Toa if it came down to like actually having KC at any of them. But that does transition us into the second raid that we're going to talk about. And we're not saving the best for last, apparently. We're going to talk about Tob.
They said second is best. What can I say?
Oh, that's true.
Next up is Teatro di Sangue, Theater of Blood. Michael, you do this raid a lot. Why don't you kick us off?
I will kick us off. So, unlike Toa, Tob has a set order for every single raid. It will never change. You can't change it. Like, you can't do anything to say, oh, I want to do Bloat first. No, it's going to be Maiden, Bloat, Nilo, Sodaseg, Zarpus, Verzik. Every single time. So, when you start the raid, you're going to spawn in, and the first boss you're going to kill is Maiden. The tip we have here is pre-move. Every time you see her do her attack animation, and you're gonna dodge the blood just in case it gets thrown. So what this means is every so often when you're standing still, she's gonna go whoosh whoosh, and there will be blood that spawns under your feet, and you'll kind of see the projectile thrown at you. It's like a little blood bomb. If you're standing on that, you're going to be taking damage insanely quick
and healing her and getting your stats reduced.
It's terrible. The blood is the worst. So it's a good idea to just move after you attack. Attack, move. Attack, move. Attack, move. it's going to save you a lot of headache in the long run. If you're confident and you know that you can watch out for those blood splatters, you can avoid that. But when you're just learning the raid and when you're getting comfortable with the raid, it's a great idea to just move every single time, and you won't have to deal with the blood.
I have another tip. So I guess to build off that one a little bit, when they say pre-move with every attack, Maiden doesn't send blood on a certain interval, I don't believe. So when we say pre-move, just like the minute you see her attack animation start, walk a couple tiles. Don't run super far away, just walk a couple tiles away, whether you're blowpiping or whether you're meleeing, whatever it is. You just want to make sure that you're decently far enough away to avoid any potential blood. The other tip I have is a tip for more experienced raiders. If you are doing freezing, particularly if you're the North Freeze role at Tob, there is a way where you can catch all. If you've not done the North All and you're curious about what that means, what that looks like, you can instantly freeze all of the crabs. Not instantly freeze all of them, but you freeze them as soon as they come out. You can hit 1, 2, 3, and 4 all in the perfect spot. You know, just North All. As a little tip for my freezers, at about 75, 55, and 35%, run and just start getting ready for freeze, right? I am going to share some tiles with you guys. They should be in the description below. These tiles are specifically for a North Freezer. If you freeze the second crab on the freeze all tile, you've obviously got them all. If you freeze the second crab on the miss 4 tile, you've missed 4s, and you're not going to be able to complete that. That's my tip for freezers for people who have done the raid a little bit and are actually understanding. I don't want to say understanding and able. That sounds so mean, but like if you're at the point where you're freezing, you've done Tob enough, and I trust that you know what I'm talking about there. Check the tiles in the description of this episode, and we've got those for you. It's also has the T-bow line where the T-bow will hit from. Next up, we have bloat. If you guys didn't know, bloat deaths don't actually count towards the total death count. It says they do, and apparently it does, but bloat deaths don't count. Bloat deaths don't count. Zarpus deaths don't count. I don't care what anybody tells you. I don't care what the game tells you. Bloat deaths don't count. So all of these tips from Tob have been contributed in the most part by our lead boss tutor. Shinkiro really did come through with the Tob tips. Learning to tick eat the stomp is easy, and it makes you look cool in front of your friends. That's the tip that we have. If you can tick eat the stomp and get a little bit of extra damage in, you'll look cool as hell. When he stomps, the screen will shake. When it shakes, click your food. Usually your Guthix rest if you bring one with you. If not, you can use a brew, but your stats will reduce. That's the tip that we have. An additional tip, just run away. Get further away from bloat than you think you need to. If you stay too close to an edge, bloat could turn around. If you're not like catching up, you got to catch up. You got to get moving, right? So that's bloat.
I have a question. I thought Mama didn't raise no bitch.
So here's the thing. Mama didn't raise no bitch. In what context are you asking that?
So whenever you're trying to get bloat while it's down, staying to do the extra hits rather than running away before he comes back up.
So there's 2 different scenarios in which that happens. The scenario that I'm talking about is bloat's probably not dead. It's probably the first down, right? When you tick eat the stomp, you get an extra scythe swing in, or you get a chally swing in. Because what you can do is you can get the extra chally hit by running around the corner. He'll do the stomp, and then as the stomp animation is going, you'll run out, swing your chally because his defense will still be lowered, and then you can run back around by only taking 1 fly, or you can hit the chally and tick eat the stomp at the same time and run back around the corner. What you're referring to is the old adage, stay and gay. Some people say stay or gay, but in this house, we stay and gay. And that's on the second down, particularly. With bloat, if bloat has low enough health, you stay and gay. We're killing that thing. You're going to chuck up redemption, and we're going to keep swinging, especially if bloat has less than 10% health, right? We're going to keep on swinging. So Mama didn't raise no bitch. But because Mama didn't raise no bitch, you still got to be smart enough to know when to stay and gay and when to go. You know,
exactly.
You don't stay in gay on 40%. You just don't do that, right? At 10%, if you run away, you're off the team.
Get out of here.
This part's going to go substantially quicker than the TOA part, thankfully. This is going to be a long, in case by now at the hour 40 mark, you weren't sure, this is going to be a long episode. So
Definitely, which is fine. So you've killed Bloat, you stayed and you're gay, which is great. And now you're at Nilo's, which is similar to the monkey boss. So,
but better.
Absolutely, but better. So the tip we have here really just comes for after you've done all the waves in Nilo's. So the boss that spawns, it's going to change styles every 2 attacks. The biggest tip here is you want to get your prayers up first and then switch your weapon. In practice, it's going to start with melee first. You've got melee prey up and you have whatever weapon you're using. It's going to switch to another style, whether that's range or mage. It's random. So what you want to do is if you see green, you switch to range and then you put on your range weapon. If you see blue, you want to switch to mage and then you put on your mage weapon and you attack. Prioritize prayer first and then attack, because if you're dead, you can't DPS. This boss has the opportunity and it will one-shot you. So you want to make sure that you've got your prayer up first so that you negate all the damage, and then you can start doing damage to the boss. And that's after 2 attacks. And once it attacks, it's like you stop attacking it, which is very nice. So when it
switches styles.
Yeah. So once it switches, so it's the white crab, it's going to be attacking with melee. Once it switches to range, your character will stop attacking. The very important thing to remember, say the crab is green and you attack it with melee, it's going to hit you. You're going to get some damage there. Whether or not it hit you or not, you're going to take damage. So there's a lot going on. Just remember, prayer first, then attack style.
Yeah. The Nihilore plugin is quite nice. I recently learned about that at our top event. Get the Nihilore plugin. It's pretty cool. Prioritize Nilo aggros in the middle of the room. It's a tip for the actual waves itself. On to good old Soda Seg. Soda Seg is fun. Here, Shinkiro says, standing back with a fancy new noxious halberd for a while is good for you, while good for you is bad for the team. Standing in melee range of Soat affects the chance of the red ball, so if you're standing back, you're griefing the team. Stand next to Soda Seg, even if you have the halberd, is the TLDR there. I'm not a noxious halberd guy. Granted, it's because I have a scythe, but even then, I'm not a noxious halberd guy when I don't have a scythe. I'm still a whip or a blade guy, right? I don't know about this whole one tile away tech. I actually have a thing for that in P2 as well. Stand next to Soap, because I believe it will spawn the big red death ball after a certain amount of range attacks. And if you're getting meleeed, he's not going to send any magic attacks that will break off into range attacks. Soat's melee is inaccurate, but will hit hard. So if you need to pray mage while you're standing next to him, that's fine, or you can pray melee. Regardless, stand next to Soap. That's something thing there. Speaking of learning how to tick eat, if you're a little bit more advanced and you want to tick eat, you're going to drink your Guthix Rest or your brew when the death ball hits your shoulder. When the death ball hits your shoulder, that's when you're going to sip your tick eat and you will survive. You can live up to, like, if you have full health and you tick eat it, you can survive a 99 tick eat. You can do it. You'll be okay. You want to talk about looking cool in front of your friends? You know, you just don't say anything. You got the ball coming at you. You just casually take that step back and everyone runs to the DD. And then one of the other people goes, oh no, they're going to be cool and they're going to tick eat. Like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Hit the tick eat. Very helpful if your team does not have a lot of health, particularly in the third phase of Soap. So learn to tick eat. It's a tip for the more advanced people. But
cool. And there's so many more like intricacies with that room. It's probably, in my opinion, it's one of the most complex rooms besides Verzik.
Really?
Yeah. So like in my opinion, as a top learner, Sodasek is very complex because you have to deal with 3 attacks, whether you pray range, mage, depending on the ball that's coming at you. Maybe you pray melee when you're standing by him. I don't know. The maze to me is terrifying because it's one of those mechanics that is detrimental to the whole team if your performance is bad. So if you got chosen to run the maze and you do it wrong, you could kill your entire team. And that just sucks because you're like third or fourth room in the raid and now you're dead. So my tip for this is do a maze simulator religiously. Run a maze simulator, learn how to run in an efficient order. You don't have to do like corner skips. You don't have to do the L movements, but just make sure that you can click where you need to click and get better at that. And don't rely on being chosen to practice the maze. Practice the maze outside of the raid so that when you're in it, you're not panicking. Because I still panic, and I need to take my own advice. Essentially, I need to practice the maze simulator to run it outside of a stressful situation. There's my soda psych for you. Moving on to Zarpus, probably one of the easiest rooms, in my opinion. It's really simple. Don't use the halberd at Zarpus. Blowpipe, void, range until you have a scythe. And in this way, you basically just avoid any mess ups because you're staying on the edge of the square. And like there's some pathing that you need to learn. Like you skip a tile every time you see the acid coming at you, so that you have a way that you can walk around the room. But that's all just ask whoever is teaching you or ask whoever you're going with to show you where to stand if you're using range. But basically, until you have a scythe, just use void blowpipe. And then the biggest one here is just don't use any supplies. If you need to heal, don't. Just die. You can throw up redemption, which can be helpful, but in most cases, it's better for you to die and get that health back for free than to use the supplies that you would be needing to use at Verzik, which is the next one. Because after Zarpus, you don't get any freebies. There's no more supply chests that you can get. There's like, if you use the supplies, they're gone. Verzik is just going to beat your ass.
There's one supplies that you're allowed to use, and then it's a single sip of regular or divine super combat potion before Zarpus starts. Only supplies you're allowed to use. Everything else, just die. I'm not kidding, just die. When Michael talks about not using the halberd, he doesn't mean in P3, he means in P2. So Zarpus with its 3 phases, you stand on the exhumes. In P2, it's going to turn and spit at you. That's the phase you don't want to use the halberd because that will throw off the people who are running Zarpus. My additional tip for more advanced tobbers who are looking to start running, if you start on either I believe it's the east and west side, whatever the hard mode start sides are. I don't know if that's east or west or north or south, mainly because I just don't remember the orientation of the camera. I believe it's east and west. Your teachers will be able to tell you where to go. When you make your first 2 attacks and you run back 2 tiles to get into cycle, you want to attack Zarpus when it turns to look at someone. So if you're 4 running, one's going north, one's going south, and then they're doing the same thing on the other side, and you feel like you're out of cycle, don't try to sync up with your teammates. You can if you catch it at the right time, but sometimes your teammates will be 5 ticking, and that's going to throw you off. When Zarpus turns to look at someone, especially when you are further in, like at the beginning, Zarpus isn't going to turn that much because everyone's going to be about on the same tile. 2 people are on the same one person, the other 2 people are on the same on the other side. When you get further in, when you see Zarpus turn and look, that is when you go to attack. You attack, and then you run back out. And you want to be 2 tiles away from Zarpus as he turns every time. It's a 4-tick cycle, just like Verzik, but that is how you want to start the melee walk. This works with a scythe. This works with a whip. This works with a blade. This will work with a fang, even though a fang is not great. It will work with anything as long as you have the 4-tick rotation down. The reason some people will do a 5-tick rotation is to get 1 extra attack in, because technically, despite it being a 4-tick rotation, you're attacking at a 5.3 rate, if that makes sense. So you're saving 0.3 of a tick when you 5-tick. I don't know how to 5-tick. Honestly, it doesn't seem that worth it. It's 1 extra attack that could help with speeds. But if you're listening to this episode in earnest because you want tips for raids, you don't need to know how to 5-tick. But as a little advanced tip, when Zarpus turns, that's when you run into attack if you're using a melee weapon. If you're using a blowpipe, like Michael said, stay on the wall. Verzik. Ooh, a fun one.
We've made it.
Big one.
You're at the end of the raid.
One of the best raid rooms, period. It's probably tied with Nilo for the most fun raid room. I love the Verzik fight. We've broken this down into 3 phases. Michael, do you want to hit us with P1?
Because it's the easiest one, sure. I honestly, I don't think I have any room to talk for P2 and P3 because generally I'm not in the fight. I'm in the cage. So I'll tell you how the raid goes when I'm there, and that's in P1. So what you want to look out for is timing here. So the attack is going to, you want to basically attack when her legs are fully open. So when she goes whoosh, then you click to attack, you attack, and you run behind the pillar again. Simple as that. Now, another tip that I've had that we didn't write down here is when it's your turn with the staff, be very mindful of where it's at in your inventory. Because the worst thing that can happen is it's your turn with the staff and you thought you dropped it, but maybe you dropped something else, and then the staff's in your inventory and you're panicked because this is, maybe you're new at the raid like I am, and they're like, where's the staff? Where's the staff? And you're like, I don't have it. And then you look down and it's in your inventory. Just be very mindful of where the staff is and what you need to click to get it dropped in the right spot. Because it's very pivotal that you have that staff and that you rotate that staff around so that you guys can get P1 out of the way to move on to P2. Another tip here, just drop some brews, drop supplies if you're new at the raid for your fellow teammates just in case you die. Because if you're in the cage and you've died, you can't help them in any way by giving them supplies. The only way that you can give people supplies is by dropping them on the floor for them to pick up if you end up dying. A small tip here, again, didn't write this down, but these are coming off the dome. When you need to click to go back to the pillar, there's a tile that you can click to where you click inside the pillar rather than outside the pillar. And so if you click on the tile that's inside the pillar, you basically don't risk picking up the staff if you're running back. Out of order, you don't want to pick up that staff. So clicking inside the pillar will have you path to the right spot, but you'll never pick up the staff accidentally.
First of all, what Michael is explaining is something that your teacher should show you before P1, because that's not going to make a ton of sense in a podcast format. But what Michael is explaining isn't going to prevent you from picking up the staff. It's going to prevent you from stalling. So yeah, it will prevent, like, you obviously want to pick up the staff, but the bigger issue that you're going to run into as a newbie, if you're clicking on the tile and you accidentally click on the staff, if an experienced tobber is back before you and they pick up the staff, have you ever gone to pick up an item at a drop party and somebody grabs it and your character just stops moving? Yeah. That's what's going to happen at P1, and Verzik is going to hit you. And if you don't have Mage Prey on, you'll die, but you should have Mage Prey on. You're still going to get hit like up to a 70, I think, something crazy like that. So don't click on the actual thing itself. Click on the tile inside the pillar. Again, good tip, something your raid teacher should explain to you and something you shouldn't rely on a podcast for. It's a good tip. It's hard to explain when not in the raid. Is the point there? Remember what I said earlier about wardens, Michael? What was that thing I said about P2? Do you remember?
Have your effing music on.
Yeah, look me in the eyes one more time. Turn your fucking game sounds on.
Yeah,
for Verzik. So if you have not done Verzik before, they added a very obvious when she attacks. It's the chain sound when the chains that are holding her up move. Because when you kill her in P1, she's going to kind of, get carried over to the center. When those chains make that noise, you attack. And if you are not necessarily, if you're like V walking, right, you can attack and immediately walk back out. If you have the Zarpus timing down, you will attack, sit for 3 ticks, walk back when she does the chain thing. And you won't get hit by any big crab bombs or the big cabbages or whatever they are. I understand that that is a tip that, much like the tip Michael just gave outside of the raid, might not make a ton of sense, but just bear with me here because a lot of Verzik is not going to make a ton of sense until you see it. If you get bounced, right, there's nothing under there for you, first of all. Second of all, as you're getting bounced, spam click Verzik. because when you get bounced and you spam click Verzik, you'll run in and attack her and be right back into cycle. So whether you're using a whip and you're V walking, or you're using a scythe and you're walking the quote unquote regular way, I don't know what that move is called. It's just the way people walk with a scythe. The 5.3, same thing you did, Zarpus. You will be right back in cycle if you spam clicker when you get bounced. That's my tip there. Noxious Halberd is tough, but not impossible. I don't love it because you don't really move. Like when I did, I was a ranger in leagues. Only walking one tile is weird. I don't like it. I'm sure somebody who uses a Noxious Halberd at top does. Just be cautious if you're a Halley user.
Question: is it weird because it's different? Because to me, if you have a Noxious Halberd, you're never going to get bounced, and you're only walking left and right to avoid the green bombs. So while it's weird and uncomfortable for you, it may be the easier solution for a learner.
So long term, I don't think that's true. Like trying to visualize it in my head, long term, you're going to run into the issue of other people's bombs. You're going to run into the issue of red crabs getting in the way. You're going to run into the issue of the purple crabs getting in the way. When you get into hard mode, you're going to run into the issue of like, what do I do with all this poison that's all over the floor? It's one of those things where like, yeah, I guess if it's easier, you can walk the one tile. For the sake of your ability as a player, it might be easier to just learn it with a whip or a fang or a blade and just die. My microphone is falling yet again, and I'm going to have a fucking aneurysm over it. My final tip, my very last tip for P2 Verzik. You're going to die, and that's okay. The people who are bringing you with on a learner, if they are not a dog shit teacher, don't expect you to survive P2. I have run several learner raids. I have been on several learner raids as a helper. I promise you, none of the people teaching you expect you to survive the entire thing.
Which I would say is probably one of the more frustrating parts of learning TOB, is that the content itself is difficult, but it's only difficult because you have this like mindset that one action can end it all. And it really is that hard. Like the thing about TOB that makes it less difficult is just repetition. So we always talk about Jad hands. Jad hands are a staple conversation on this podcast. The way that you get rid of Jad hands is by just killing Jad more, by just interacting with the content. So to kind of counteract Oxie's point about the Noxious Halberd, if that is what it takes for you to get comfortable enough with the raid that you lose the Jad hands so that you can kind of brain off on the hard mechanics, and then you can lock in and get a V walk down, or you can get the scythe walk down, do that. If it takes you 100 raids and 100 different P2s with a Noxious Halberd to brain off on the mechanics so that you can like engage in the harder mechanics, that's a win. That's kind of how I see it. But you're the type of person who says, do the hard thing from the very beginning and bash your head against the wall until you learn it. But that's not everybody's learning style. And that's definitely not my learning style.
I do understand that. And I do respect that. However, my thing about that is I have done enough teaching in both RuneScape and IRL to know that if you learn with bad fundamentals, the Jad hands are going to come right back, because you're going to learn with a halberd and you're going to get really comfortable. And you want to know what's going to happen? You're going to fall in love with TOB. And Michael, what's the one item you could buy if you're in love with TOB? What's the one item you can buy to make TOB so much nicer?
A scythe.
A scythe. And then suddenly you're right back to the Jad hands because you didn't learn the proper way to do it. You didn't learn the proper way to walk because you wanted to be more comfortable for the first 150 raids. And now you have a fundamental so baked into your head that adding that extra tile has totally thrown off. It is, in my opinion, a dangerous game to work out of comfort in something like Theater of Blood. TOB is extremely simple mechanically. Let me back that up. Relative to something like TOA. There are far less mechanics in each room at Tob, right? Think about bloat. What do you have to avoid? Avoid the flies, avoid the feet, click the boss. Easy enough, right? Nilo, switch your prayer, switch your weapon, click the boss. Easy enough. Even something like Zarpus. Walk away, don't attack when he's looking at you, click the boss. Tob is extremely simple, extraordinarily punishing when you get it wrong. And nowhere is it more punishing than at Verzik. But I think because it is so simple, you're allowed to learn some of that stuff much easier, right? Than something like TOA, where it kind of encourages this more, I'm going to use the term hand-holdy, like, oh, it's going to get a little bit easier and a little bit easier and a little bit harder, and just like gradually pump it up. Like, you can go ahead, sure, you can learn with an Noxious Halberd. You're going to get burned when you get a scythe. I'll tell you that right now. You're going to get a scythe, and you're going to think to yourself, wow, why is this so much harder? And it's almost certainly because you didn't learn how to do it properly when you were learning. That's
well, here's a caveat to that. Just like what I said with Sodaseg and the maze, just pop open the Verzik simulator and practice outside of an environment that is stressful. Learn to walk. Yes, it's not perfect.
No, it's not, because what ends up happening with the sim is you'll get the walk down, it'll be perfectly fine, and then crabs will come out. And then when crabs come out, all hell breaks loose, because they don't simulate the crabs in that sim. We'll link the sim down below. It's a good teacher. I very much encourage you, if you're already going to take the dive and jump into Tob of all things, just do the hard thing, you know? But that's just the way I roll.
We're almost done with the raid though. P3.
Almost. We are getting into P3. This is a tip from Shinkiro. Learn to run webs. Webs is so much free DPS when you learn to run them. Tell your teachers that you're trying to learn to run webs so they know when to tell you to get out if you don't make it. More or less how that's going to work. When P3 happens, she'll get into her big Nilokus form. She'll attack 4 times. Nilos will come out. The Nilos will pop. She'll attack 4 more times, and then she'll walk to the center of the room. Your teachers will help you mark the right tile, and you are going to attack on a 5-tick attack cycle. You are going to attack once in the center of Verzik on each side every 5 ticks. And like Michael said, utilize your true tile, right? Be able to attack at the right time in the right spot. If you f up, that's fine. Just get out. My other additional tip for web walking is, when you are learning, if you make a mistake, run out of the web walk. Because like, you f up, that's fine. You missed an attack. You're too early on an attack, whatever, you're good. Leave. Get out. Because if you stay and try to catch up, what's going to happen is you're going to rag your teammates, and all that free DPS isn't going to come, because you have made it impossible now to do web walking. So that is my tip for you. When you learn to web walk, actually commit yourself to it. Tell your teachers you want to learn. And then when you make a mistake, because trust me, as someone who couldn't make webs for 100 raids in a row, you're going to make a mistake. When you make a mistake, get out. Don't try to correct it. Unless they tell you to skip one, skip an attack and keep on running. If they don't tell you to skip one, get out. Get out as fast as you can. Attack it with a T-bow. Attack it with your mage weapon, whatever you have. Attack it from the perimeter. And then, hopefully, you get a purple from the single best raid in the game, because second is best. And now we save third and final for the most respected raid, I would argue, in RuneScape. Le Chamber du Zeric. I don't know if that's how you say that in French. I'm just making shit up.
Fancy.
Yeah, it's very fun. Michael's going to have a field day with this audio, because I'm currently holding my microphone arm.
Oh, why?
It will not stay. It will not stay attached. I think it is totally fucked. So now I have to, my mic arm might be cooked. So I've got to now just grip my microphone in my hand for the next, what's going to be 18 hours of recording, because Chambers is not going to be a short segment, folks. Michael, you're the Chambers guy here.
I have done quite a few Chambers. Have I done more than you? What's your total Chambers, KC? I don't think I've done more than you. There's surely not. You gotta be in the 300 or 400s.
I got 365 regs and 82 CMs.
Okay, yeah, you've done more than me. Definitely more. So I'm at almost 270, I think, total. I've done like 30 on my main and then like 200 and something on my iron. But it is my favorite raid. So
Chambers is a fine wine. Chambers, you might hate it at first, but it will grow on you. I think of all of the raids, Chambers could be seen as an acquired taste to some. I know it was an acquired taste to me. I hated this raid for so long.
Dude, you bitched about it every single chance you could, but something has changed and it's great. I love it. I love Chambers, and not because I'm spooned, but because the raid is just chill. Now, this comes with age, I think. Just like I've mentioned with the other 2 raids, if you're nervous about it and you have the Jad hands, it's going to be more difficult to turn your brain off and do it. I just have the experience of having over 200 KC. Oxie has well over 300 KC. So for us, it may just be that we've done this enough to where we can brain off.
I remember a time when you could not brain off. I very much do remember a time where we've had to have conversations. I once I wasn't doing a raid with Michael and Team D, and we had to have a very difficult conversation with you that was like, hey, running head is not emergent tack. It's just how you do the raid. And you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll just stand on the mage chain. It's way too hard. And we're like, Michael, shut up and learn to run head, right? Because you were several raids deep. Like even you had done it on your main before. You're like, I'll just go stand on the mage side. And we're like, dude, that's a 7-year-old tactic. Please don't do that anymore. Like, we got shadows. We're good. We're chilling. Now you understand it, right?
Yeah, I get it.
It's definitely a lot better.
So starting off on the raid, these are not going to be in any specific order.
They are in a specific order. Fun fact, if you listen at the very beginning, you will recognize the order. This is the CM layout. So this isn't necessarily CM tips, but this is we're doing this in the CM layout order.
So unlike Toa and unlike Tob, you can choose the order, or the order can be chosen for you. So it's an and/or situation rather than in Toa, you have all of the freedom to do whatever you want. And in Tob, the order is chosen for you. With Chambers, they let you choose. So the way that you can choose is by not doing a full raid. So either you're not doing a challenge mode or you're not doing a regular with the full layout. You just enter the raid and it populates a layout for you. You can choose the raid you want based on the room layout, but that's called scouting. And so I guess the first tip really just comes from the first thing that you'll probably end up doing is scouting. My tip for you is you no longer need to go back out of the raid, look at the post board, and go back into the raid to change the layout. Those days are done. I was raiding with somebody, I think they're an experienced player. I can't remember the exact who it was, but I was raiding with somebody and they did not know this. Like I said, they're an experienced player, but maybe they just hadn't done Chambers in a while, but they were like running out, checking the notice board, running back in. That's extremely slow, and we're not doing that anymore. So all you need to do is right click on the stairs and click reload, and it will reload the room for you while you're in the room. My tip for this is to change your left click to reload. So you menu entry swap the reload to be left click, and then you just literally click the stairs, press 1. Click the stairs, press 1. Click the stairs, press 1. And the room layout should be there for you. If it's not, go into the plugin hub, type in COX, type in Scout, look for a plugin that works for you. There's a couple of plugins that I know of that will actually highlight the rooms in green that you want, and they'll highlight the rooms in red that you don't want, and you just put the rooms that you do and you don't want in the list. If you're learning, it's probably always best to avoid the V's. We'll probably get to that. But the room layout that I love most and works out for if you're trying to do a quick raid is you want to prioritize having Tecton and Mutadial, and then whatever other puzzle rooms are available. So whether that's you have a 5-room layout and it has Tecton, Mutadial, and maybe you have Ice Demon, Thieving, and Tightrope, that's going to be your 3 puzzle rooms. And your 2 combat rooms are the staple Tecton and Mutadial. We could get into the intricacies of why that's great. The main reason is you have 4 overloads that drop on the ground, and you don't have to make them yourself. But starting out at the top here, if we're going in the challenge mode order, you're always going to start at Tecton, but for some reason, we're talking about scavs.
Well, it's just, scavs and farming are in every single raid. So I figure we start those first,
That's true. So the big tip for scavs is only 1 or 2 people actually need to scav. If you're in a raid with a bunch of main accounts, just send 1 or 2 people to get the supplies that you need. You're going to get juice, you're going to get mushrooms, you're going to get Sicily, and you're going to get planks. If you've got all of those down and you get them early enough, you don't actually have to worry about scavving in the later waves. There is going to be a point where you need to scav, and depending on the room layout, it's always going to be different. If you're doing a challenge mode layout, it's going to be the same. But say you've got like a regular layout and it's a random layout, the scav will generally be right before the last farming room. Speaking of farming, once you get to the point where you are going to be making your potions, always plant 1 Buchu plus 1 other plant. So if you're in a raid and somebody needs to make an overload, make sure you plant a Buchu and then plant the other seed that you need to make that overload. If you're not making overloads, just go ahead and throw 2 Buchus in there, let them grow, and then you can work on your gourds. But for the most part, you're going to want to prioritize having at least 1 Buchu and 1 other plant so that you can get those potions on the way. For all you Iron Men out there, my tip for the farming room and any bank in general is to menu entry swap so that you don't ever click into the shared storage. It's going to happen. If you've not changed your left click, you're going to make all the brews that you need. You're going to click on the chest and then accidentally deposit them into the shared chest, and then bam, you can't get them back. So to avoid any headaches for the Iron Men listening, and you've never done chambers before, menu entry swap and change your left click to private, and it'll save you so much time and a headache. So Tecton likely will be the first combat room that you see.
I mean, it's not guaranteed in a regular.
Yeah.
It will always be the first one you see in a CM, but it is not guaranteed in a regular that it will be the first one that you see.
If you're doing what I suggested, you'll either see Tecton first or Mutadal first. But I say,
but again, like it's entirely possible. Like you get shamans or you get mystics first. Like it's Tecton and Mutadile are not the only combat rooms that you'll see. They are the only ones that drop overloads that are not the Deadly V's.
But is shamans and mystics considered combat? Or are they considered puzzles?
Shamans and mystics are combat. I know Tightrope is a puzzle. Ice Demon is a puzzle. Thieving and Crabs are both puzzle rooms. Guardians might be... I don't know what Guardians is considered. I don't know if Guardians is combat or Guardians is puzzle. But I know for a fact Mystics and Shamans are combat rooms. So it's not like the only time you're going to be doing combat is if you're at Tecton and Mutadile, if you've never done a Chambers before. You'll probably be, even at hell, if you get Ice Demon or Tightrope, both technically puzzles, you will be doing combat in both of those rooms.
Yeah, that's what's throwing me off, is I don't know what they consider combat and puzzle because it seems like they're used interchangeably.
I'm trying to find what the actual room list is of what the actual combat and like puzzle rooms are. I think the combat rooms in this order that we have listed are Tecton, Shamans, Vanguards, Vespula, Vasa, Mystic, Muta for sure. I don't know if Guardians is considered a puzzle or if it's considered combat. Everything else that we list, so the other ones on there that are Crabs, Ice Demon, Thieving, Tightrope, those are considered puzzle rooms. Though I do not know, I still don't know if Guardians is puzzle or combat. I'm leaning towards combat, but I'm genuinely not sure. It looks like on this list of bosses that Guardians isn't on there, but it also has Ice Demon on there, so the wiki itself is confused as to what the hell it is. But no, not every room is a combat room if we don't say it. We're gonna nick that in the bud right here.
Do we have any tips for Tecton? Because for me, it's pretty straightforward. The mechanics of the fight are the mechanics. I guess a tip, something that is not generally known, is that the first Warhammer that you hit, or Elder Maul, the first Warhammer spec that you hit will be a guaranteed hit. So make sure that you have a spec make sure that you have a defense reducing weapon that's not like a BGS or a bone dagger. Make sure you take a warhammer or an elder maul, and that you actually spec down the boss's defense, because the first one that you hit is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one
It's
of
very
those
nice.
raids that the warhammer will be better than the BGS, because the monsters generally have a higher defense level.
Yeah, it's very nice. I will say it's very, very, very nice.
Again, these are mechanics that you should be doing, but like, you can run counterclockwise, you can run clockwise. Just like work that out with your team. Most people run counterclockwise, and then I guess you can elaborate more on this one, but like when to stop and hit is something that is not talked about enough, I think. Because when you're doing Tecton, people are just like, okay, run around in a circle and hit and then keep running. But for the most part, there is actual timing to when you should be hitting Tecton.
You want to attack Tecton on the furthest most corner that you're running. So most people will run counterclockwise, and you want to run on the furthest corner. Again, this is easier if you have a visual. Don't attack in the middle, basically. Attack on the edges in the direction that you're running. So if you're running to the right, attack on the far right edge. If you're running to the left, attack on the far left edge. But because Tecton has changed so dramatically over the years, it's not like some people will flinch it and just walk backwards. Some people will just like
can
stand
flinch.
still and tank with vengeance. Like Tecton has become this entire raid has become so much less abusive than it was, that a lot of the tips that I would have given are no longer relevant, right?
Yeah.
Like, because like with Tecton, like if you don't hit a hammer, reset the raid is not a relevant tip anymore. You know, it doesn't matter. So I don't know. It's tough with Tecton, but yeah, those are our tips.
Next up is Oxie's favorite room, which is actually something that I was always basically I was taught chambers by Oxie, and I was taught that this is the worst room in the raid.
It is.
But
Because
after
it is.
doing raids without Oxie, I have learned that this is probably one of the easiest rooms in the raid, as long as you have enough people to get the job done. So for crabs, we don't have a tip written down, but off the dome, I would say designate who is going to be the anchor and designate who is going to be the runner. And then everybody else stand by the door. When you have two anchors, you have people standing in a single spot where the crab never moves. They pray melee. They never move. Nobody smashes a crab. Just stand there. And then you have two of those people. And then you have a runner who is basically going to move their crab in the appropriate spot. You can clear this room with zero headache. Nobody has to run around. Nobody has to lose their mind. The people who are not running will stand by the door, and it'll be a great day.
I fear Michael has forgotten that this raid is done with other people sometimes, and it's the other people that make me want to be a taste tester for Smith and Wesson when I do this raid.
The real tip here is to download
Don't raid with Oxie?
the Crab
Yeah?
Solver
Oh.
plugin. Because the great thing about this plugin is it's going to tell you where to stand if you're an anchor. And it's also going to tell you where to stand. Well, not where to stand, but where to put your crab if you are the runner. And by the runner, I just mean you're the person making the crab go in the different spots so that the light orbs move to the correct location. Crab Solver is going to make this room make so much more sense. And if you're not on RuneLite, I'm sorry, but maybe you just have to like hope that you can figure it out. Why are you doing raids on mobile? That's my question.
Because maybe you're just really like that. Who knows?
It's not as bad as people think. Moving on.
Moving on. Yes, please, let's move on from the damn crabs room. Next up is Ice Demon. So sometimes you will hear people bring up the safe spot in the Ice Demon room. The light wall is the safe spot. So what I mean by that is when you go into Ice Demon, there's going to be two sides. One side, don't look at the floor, look at the wall. The walls on the far sides of Ice Demon, one is going to be dark, one is going to be light. The light wall is always the safe spot. So the safe spot meaning that Ice Demon from where it's standing is not going to hit you with its projectile. You'll have to have one person run Ice Demon, which again, if you're in an experienced team of raiders, shouldn't be an issue to find. You should be able to do that, no problemo. And you are going to stand there and attack it with whatever you got. You're going to attack it with range or mage. I think the best in slot at this point is still Fire Surge, though honestly, after the summer sweep up, Purging Staff might be up there as well. I'm thinking it's still Fire Surge with Harmonized Nightmare Staff, though I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that because I don't normally do it. It's a shadow angle for me, or a T-bow angle. Bofa is good. I believe you can hit it with a blowpipe or a crossbow.
If you want my opinion with Ice Demon, if you have the space, just bring a fire spell. Doesn't matter if it's the best in slot surge spell. Like a fire wave will do the job. But anything fire, if it's not like they did change it to where like Demon Bane weapons will affect it. So we haven't tested that out. But pre-changes, pre-summer sweep, any fire spell will do the job. You'll get it done quickly. Bonus points if you use the Twin Flame. That shit's fun. Hitting like a 90 combined, it's good.
Next up, once you get past Ice Demon, is Shamans. Shamans is going to go one of two ways. Shamans is either going to be a joke, and you're going to wonder why we're giving you a tip for the room anyways, or Shamans is going to be the most chaotic fucking chicken with your head cut off piece of content you have done ever in RuneScape. Shamans can be a disaster real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're going to want to do, our tip for Shamans in particular, learn the safe spots in the various rooms that you're in. Every shaman room has a particular type of safe spot. Some of them are a little straightforward, where you just have to get the shaman to jump to a specific corner. Some are a little more convoluted, where you kind of got to drag the shaman down and around, and you got to run to the room that was just previously in, and it's got to drag it over there. Go with your raid team and have your teachers show you where the safe spot is, because you shouldn't be learning this by yourself, is kind of my opinion. If you want to, more power to you. You really shouldn't be learning it by yourself. The other tip I have, if and inevitably when all hell breaks loose in a shaman, this isn't just for learners. I've been on like 5-man teams of like mega gamers in CMs. One person steps on the wrong tile, or one shaman walks in the wrong spot, and then suddenly all hell breaks loose. Stay on the wall. No matter what, stay on the wall. Staying on the wall, it's going to help you not have the shamans jump everywhere. So if the shamans are jumping, you cannot hit them. You cannot do damage to them. You don't want them jumping.
And they can land on you. Ouch.
They can land on you. They can punch you. Like, those things hurt. But like, a fun thing that I learned about shamans in actually fall bingo in anniversary is only doing like CM shamans. They're so much easier on a Slayer task. Like, I genuinely only do them in raids. I never do them on task. We had to get a Dragon Warhammer in the anniversary bingo. I brought a whole inventory of food. I was like, dude, this is going to be the fucking worst. I'm going to get bombed by everything. And people were like, you're bringing Shazian armor, right? I'm like, well, yeah, it's not going to matter. They're like, it will. Are you stupid? I've killed like 1,000 shamans before. I just forgot that Shazian armor totally negates like everything that the shamans throw at you. So a little fun tidbit where if you only do raid shamans, you're going to get a little thrown when shamans in Shazian armor on a Slayer task are a joke. But
yeah, I did that in leagues. It was really funny. So I did a ton of CMs in leagues, and it was worth it because I had Banker's Note to just take full Shazian 5 just for the shaman room. And I just wore Shazian armor the rest of the time. But like, I had a Shazian switch, and I had my scythe, and it was amazing. It's good times. But it's not worth it to bring full Shazian 5 in a regular CM. Please don't do that.
There is technically a way where it is. If you're doing like 100-man scale, you'll bring full Shazian and a full Shazian in a Dins.
Holy.
And just tank everything. So like, technically, yes, it is viable, but not how normal people do the raid. What do we got next? We got Vanguards next, Mike. Do you do a lot of Vanguards? Do you want me to take this one, or do you want to take this one?
This one's easy enough. So for Vanguards, first of all, don't run down the middle, please.
Yep.
It's not on here, but that is a anecdotal tip from Michael. Don't run down the middle. And second of all,
you ever want all three of them to
If you want to die, just run down the middle. But if you don't, pick a corner and stay there. And basically just switch styles to attack the vanguards and literally don't follow them. And it follows a combat triangle. So if you have any questions on which one you need to attack, just look up the combat triangle and follow that. There's also a vanguards plugin. Now, the funny part about chambers, a lot of the tips that we have are like, hey, get this plugin. This is one of them. If you get the vanguards plugin, it'll highlight the hull of the actual monster with what style it's going to attack you with. So the range vanguard will be fully green. The melee will be fully red. And obviously the mage will be fully blue. So you don't have to like think about which one is coming at you because they all look different, right? But you just want to be able to do it brain off. Get the vanguards plugin, and then the thing that I guess I didn't realize initially whenever I was doing vanguards, if it's the range guy, pray range. Please switch your prayers because like sometimes like I don't know, maybe I'm just dumb and I wasn't switching my prayers, but remember to switch your prayers to whatever is attacking you. It will help. Just don't pray melee. Like I guess the disconnect for me was like it's walking up towards me. So it's going to be attacking me with melee. Because generally if a monster attacks with range or magic, it doesn't make its way towards you. That seems like a really dumb thing to say out loud.
I was just saying,
I realize that.
Some
but
monsters do that. Like Hydra does that.
Pray mage, pray melee, pray range. Switch your prayers. And don't follow them. They're going to come to you.
Yep, they will come to you. Thieving. This one's fun.
It's a pretty easy room.
Thieving is very easy. It's a very nice break in the raid.
Yeah.
There are 2 paths that you could take for thieving. The first one, again, another pro tip from Heartless and the Raids Bank boys. There are paths that you can put in thieving particularly for CMs that will show you like the most efficient route to hit your chests from the start all the way to the end. I'm not going to get into that because I don't have the tiles in front of me and I'm not going to put them out there for you guys. If I get them, sure, I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm just doing a worms task and I'm lazy and not about to reload all that to find a thieving room with the CM layout. Anyways, with thieving, you want to find squares. So what I mean by that, there are little tiny squares in the thieving room where 4 chests are facing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Every thieving room layout, there are 4 chests. They'll be like bam, 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 bam. They'll all be facing each other. It is real easy to just 1, 2, 3, 4. And by the time you hit 4, 1 will be ready to go again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, until you have your full 28 worms in your inventory ready to go. You will have to compete for these. So fair warning, you can't like everyone can't be on the same square at the same time. But it does make it a little bit more efficient for you, especially if you have a lower thieving level to sit in the squares, just because you don't have to run super far and waste a bunch of time. I like it. I like my squares quite a bit. But yeah, find the squares in the thieving room. And then like bringing a lockpick really does help. Lockpick isn't super worth it if thieving is like really late in the raid. But even then you could probably scav a lockpick. The TLDR, if you get a lockpick from a scav, or you have a lockpick in your inventory from the raid, it's worth it. It's not worth it to like if you have a Tecton, Mutadial, Mystic, Tightrope, Thieving, Olm, it's not worth it to take a lockpick then. But if you happen to snag one while scavving and you take it into thieving, that's fine. It's not necessary, but it is nice quality of life to have a lockpick.
Not to contradict you, but if I have thieving on the list, I always take a lockpick. So my raid loadout is literally gear, 6 brews, 3 restores, combat, range, and then whatever extra items, whether that's a salve, a lockpick, a pickaxe. Those are like, there's enough room in your inventory to where you shouldn't be taking that much damage that you can't spare an inventory spot for a lockpick. Plus, you're going to get supplies from the rooms too. So some of them drop, like, if you're doing a not CM layout, the bosses will drop like Zarek's Aid and Restore, and you should be fine. But again, it's up to you. If you want to put it in the inventory and take it with you, do it. But Oxie's right. You can just scav it. But that can also slow you down, which is kind of annoying. Why don't you take Vespula? Because I don't even want to talk about Vespula.
Oh, Spula. What a room. This room used to be fucking horrible. This genuinely used to be the worst room across all 3 raids. Recently, and I say recently within the last like probably year or 2, they have altered chambers a lot. And they've made Vespula not so gear locked. The reason why we tell people not to go with the deadly Vs, Vasa, Vespula, and Vanguards is because historically, those 3 rooms didn't discriminate. They just beat the shit out of you. They were 3 of the most gear locked rooms in all of old school. And to a degree, they still kind of are if you're doing CMs, right? Like Vespula without a T-Bow or Shadow does feel kind of bad. Like not impossible with a Bofa, not trying to gatekeep. It's gonna feel bad. Vasa is substantially better now with a Bofa, but we'll get there. For Vespula, my tip is just have Redemption and your offensive prayer, so Rigor or Augury, depending on if you're using T-Bow or Shadow or Bofa or whatever. Put Redemption and your offensive prayer as your quick prayer. So that when you hit the boing, 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 because I know you're playing with your fucking game sounds on, you'll be able to hear that. You will just be able to click right back to it. You'll be able to click right back to it. You won't have to worry about going into your prayer book and fumbling around and clicking on Smite and clicking on Retribution and clicking on Piety, when in reality, you just gotta put the damn prayers back up. Have it set to your quick prayers. If you sip a prayer enhance, sometimes you will proc Redemption and immediately get prayer points back. I can't explain why it happens, but sometimes, very rarely, where prayer won't drop or it will immediately drop back to like 1 point. Still sip a Revite. When you get hit with a Redemption, run back to the safe spot tile. Your teacher will show you where that is, because it does change room to room. You run back to the safe spot tile, sip a Revite, and then turn your quick prayers back on. You've got time. It's not like it has to be all done on like 1 tick, because you're only attacking every 4 or 5 ticks. As soon as you see the XP drop, run back to the safe spot tile. Vespula, the tips blend with the mechanics, because a lot of learners don't see Vespula, because even after the changes, Vespula isn't the easiest raid in the world. Done how it's supposed to be done, Vespula sucks. Where you gotta heal the grubs and have her land. It's tough to do it how it's actually intended to be done. Talk to your teacher about where to stand, because ideally you're going with a teacher if you're doing Vespula. And by the time you're doing Vespula, if I was a betting man, you're doing CMs or you're doing Mickey Mouse CMs. Like, it's very rare that a teacher's like, hey, you've never done chambers before. Muta, Tactile, Vasa, Vespula, Shamans. Let's rock and roll. No teacher should be doing that. I'm sorry. None of the boss tutors in TNL are going to do that. I'll tell you that. I guarantee you, none of the people with that dragon scimitar are going to open up and go, hey, let's teach you Vespula for your first raid. No one's going to do that. So by the time you're ready to learn Vespula, you've probably done enough chambers. I'm not trying to gatekeep. I really am not trying to gatekeep. It's not about gear. It's just the room is stupid. So that's our tip for Vespula. Quick prayers.
Easy peasy. Easy peasy.
I wish it was easy peasy. Shit.
I mean, literally, the cheese way of doing it is easy. I've quite literally never seen anybody actually kill Vespula with intended mechanics.
We had to in leagues, and it was so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so bad. Because, like, if she hits you or you run it at the wrong time, her grub will start to spawn. And when her grub spawns, it'll, like, pop out another little bug that you have to kill, or it will, like, heal her or something. It's bad. It is rough. And the whole time, she's just every 2 ticks beating the shit out of you, chipping down your health and all that. It's tough to do Vespula how they intended. But again, with these changes they made about a year and some change ago, it's better than it was. It's not, oh, you don't have a T-Bow, you can't do Vespula. That's not even me being an elitist. That's just what the rule was before they made the chambers changes. So talk to any old money scaper. They'll tell you. If you didn't have a T-Bow, if you didn't have a T-Bow before Shadow came out, if you didn't have a T-Bow, you weren't doing Vespula and you weren't doing Vasa. That's just how it worked back then. But thankfully, they have changed it now, and it is far less gatekeepy with gear.
Lovely. Next up, though, is going to be another puzzle room that is, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Tightrope. So the tip here is if you can tag the rangers while tanking the majors, you can save time if you can't Kirby skip. So basically, what you want to do is have somebody make it to where the rangers aren't going to attack you, and you pre-mage, and you just go across the tightrope and hope that you don't die, grab the crystal, come back. You can save a lot of time in this room by not killing a single thing. Otherwise,
It also
just
gets you a free CA.
there you go. Otherwise, just do the room as intended.
The majors don't hit very accurately, and when they do, they don't hit very hard. Take someone who has a relatively higher defense, because the points from the keystone are negligible, right? If you're doing this in a group, have the people who aren't doing the tightrope tag the rangers. You only got to take like 1 or 2, maybe 3 hits. Tag the rangers. The person who's walking the tightrope, put your best range gear on, your best magic defense gear. So like when I do it, I'll do Missouri Infernal Cape, and I'll cross with Pray Mage and Augury. Because if for some reason y'all don't know, when you pray the offensive prayer and it increases your skill level, so Augury increases your magic attack and defense by 25%. So that 25% increase in magic defense does help to not get hit. It also helps in the wilderness. If you're running away from PKers, turn Augury on. They're going to have a slightly more difficult time landing a freeze or an entangle or a teleblock. So for me, Missouri, Infernal Cape, because I believe the backpack for range, I don't know if the backpack actually provides any defensive bonuses. Let me take it off real quick. It provides +8 magic, which I believe is the same as the Infernal Cape. I think. It might be. Who knows? But either way, wear one of them on the way over. That's our tightrope tip. Guardians, just to knock that one out real quick. Guardians is extraordinarily straightforward. I say that. I've done too many learners. Try to get in cycle with the people that you're with. So the original tip that we have here is that if you forget a pickaxe, an iron pick will spawn in the room. It's hard to see, so not everybody knows that. But when you're doing Guardians, there's going to be 3 tiles you're going to be standing on. The middle tile, the attack tile, and then the walk back tile. That makes sense. So you're going to start on the middle tile. You're going to attack. As soon as you see the XP drop, walk back to tile 3, and then walk back to that middle tile. Stall a tick. 1 single tick. Stall 1 tick, and then get back into cycle and keep attacking. That's how you do the 4 tick cycle, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? I understand in an audio format, especially if you're not walking, that doesn't mean a fucking thing to you. But watch the people that you are raiding with and try to stay in cycle with them. When you get to the middle tile again after you attack, stall for 1 tick. Just follow the people that you're with. That's the Guardian's trick.
If you want a visual indicator of when you need to attack, you attack once your shoulders face the Guardian. So if you're doing the running properly, you'll attack, you'll run back, you'll turn away from the Guardian, you'll click the tile that you need to stand on. Once your shoulders face the Guardian again, then you can attack.
Yeah. Okay.
And that'll help you get in cycle with other people.
That's good. Yeah. All right. The next tip we have is for Vasa. I know I'm talking a lot, but I promise Michael will take the next couple. The tip for Vasa, click, move, click, move, click, move. Click the boss, move a couple tiles. Click the boss, move a couple tiles. Vasa has like a stupid attack speed, like 2 or 3 ticks. And it does, I believe it's area of effect damage. So it's not just one spot. It's the 9 tiles surrounding where the projectile lands. Prey range. When I say click and move, if you're using a Bofa or even a T-bow, you're not going to be able to attack every couple of ticks. That's fine, because you're not going to need to. You're not going to need to attack every couple of ticks because there's the delay between actions, right? So just make sure when you attack Vasa, you stay mobile. It's okay to run underneath Vasa when he is going from one crystal to another. So like, let's say he finishes his first crystal and he walks his big ass back to the middle. You can run underneath him, take a little bit of damage running underneath him, but going to where he just walked from, it's kind of like Zarpus, right? Like if Zarpus just looked in that direction, he's not going to attack in that same way again. Vasa is the same way. If he just comes from a crystal, he's not going to walk back to the middle and then walk back to that same crystal. So just make sure you're on the side of Vasa where you're not going to get trampled. Vasa can be a lot of switching. Vasa can be a little overwhelming at times. You learn to love it. Sometimes, because let me tell you, once you do get a couple T-bows in that room and they just start going nuclear, ooh, God, Vasa can feel like a lot of fun. But yeah, that's Vasa. I'm sure there's also a tip to like make sure you are venged at 116 HP or 118 HP. Like make sure you go in with 118. If you don't have 118, you won't hit as big of a venge. It's a difference of like taking a 56 versus a 78. And all of that goes back to Vasa. So, well, not all of it, but you guys know what I mean. Make sure you are at 118 before going into Vasa.
And Vasa is definitely not as scary as it used to be. Like Oxie mentioned it briefly before, but like in the learners, you avoid the Vs. They've made Vasa so much better in the sense that
Vasa is great for learners now, especially if your learners have Bofas. Oh, Vasa is so much nicer now with Bofas.
The thing that used to suck about Vasa is you were DPS checked, because with the crystal in the healing phase, it used to heal the entire time. So as you were attacking the crystal,
it would heal like fucking 30s every couple of ticks. Like it didn't matter. That's why you needed a T-bow, because it was the only thing that could out DPS the crystal healing.
Yep. So the way it works now is it only heals if you don't kill the crystal in time. So the healing will stack up, but if you kill the crystal in time, it's not going to heal. So as long as you can kill the crystal, boss is not going to heal, and you're fine. You don't have to worry about it. Mystics is next, and this technically is a combat room because there's really nothing to puzzle about this room. You're literally just killing these skeletons. But the tip here is the blue salve is best in slot, even with a shadow. Now, I know you're saying, Michael, Oxie, what about the occult? Since the occult was nerfed, the blue salve, the EI, is going to be best in slot. So as long as we're not saying this as fact.
Well, like I said it, but now the way you worded it, it's like, I think I might just be second guessing myself, because I've been asking too. Because for a while it was occult is better than salve, but once they nerfed salve and dropped it to like, what does salve offer now?
The occult, not the salve.
Yeah. What is the damage bonus on the occult? Like 5% now? Yeah, it's only 5%. I genuinely think the salve EI is better now. So salve EI, no matter what. It's mainly a tip for shadow
It's
users.
A vibe. You know, this is a tip for everyone, because everybody should be taking a salve, unless you're me and you don't care. That's my tip.
What?
Just
you don't take a salve?
In a regular chambers?
You're griefing.
What are you, a sweat?
Big dog, you're griefing. You take a lockpick, but not a salve EI?
Bro.
You're griefing, Michael.
Bro.
You're griefing.
The actual tip for this boss is learn the safe spots. There are several different safe spots depending on the rotation that you get, depending on the room layout. But if you can stack those mofos up and you can safe spot them, you're free and clear. It's very, very, very nice. And a little like side note here, please pick up the seeds. If you haven't picked up seeds yet, and Mystics is your last opportunity and you didn't get them at Guardians, please pick up the seeds. You will need them for the farming that is going to happen at some point. Maybe not in a CM, because you should have already done this. But if you're in a regular raid and Mystics is last, please pick up the seeds.
Yeah.
Specifically Buchu.
So the occult with a shadow offers a 15% magic damage boost. The salve EI has a flat 20% damage boost. So salve EI is best in slot, even with a shadow.
Let's go.
Shadow doesn't make it like a 60% damage boost or anything crazy like that. It's not, the shadow's not going to do that because the salve isn't a piece of mage gear. It doesn't offer a magic damage boost. It's just a general damage boost to undead targets. So salve EI is in fact best in slot, even with a shadow. Michael, how do you feel about talking about our girl? The big mama.
Mama Muta.
You want to talk about a room that has, I don't want to say fallen from grace because it is so much easier now, but you want to talk about a room that was like every time I come here, I am abused prior to these changes. Oh my God, Muta would like ruin CM. Muta would like single-handedly ruin CM time for people because Mama Muta was just, holy shit, they've made Mama Muta so much easier to kill. But go ahead, Michael. What are we doing? Why is she easier to kill?
If you're not a boomer, she just has less defense, less of a chance to one-shot you if you're not praying correctly, which at this point, just pray range the entire time and stay away. The mage hits are far and few between, so you don't have to worry about that. You will get damaged by the mage hits sometimes, but as long as you stay away and you pray range, you're good to go. The tip here, though, is you need some sort of freeze mechanic, whether that's a ZGS, Ice Barrage, an Entangle if you have to. Make sure that you can stop those guys in their tracks so that they don't reach the tree. Mechanically, if they get to the tree, they're going to eat 3 times and then they're done. So 3 separate times of healing. So they'll eat, you'll damage it, they'll eat again, you damage it, they'll eat one last time, and then you can just kill it. And at that point, I always say, hey, we're just getting more points. But if you can freeze them, 1, it's gonna go faster, and 2, the room's just gonna be easier. But there are certain safe spots with certain layouts that you can make to where the Mama Muta will never actually be able to reach you. So you can stand by the door. I'm pretty sure in some layouts it's stand by the door, and then in some layouts it's like there's like a little corner.
So there's only one layout where she's truly safe spotted and won't like come around the corner to punch you in the face, but she can get kind of stuck on the CM layout where she won't punch you in the face. Back in the day, Muta used to be invulnerable when it was eating at the tree. That was the biggest change they made to Muta, was Muta dial, both the baby and the mama are vulnerable when they are healing. So because of that, you freeze, and then Muta doesn't damage you, Muta doesn't heal, and you can still dumpster it with damage, which is why freezing has become so essential at Muta. If you're taking regular spellbook for Ice Demon, bring Entangles with you. If you're the designated ZGSer, it's easier to ZGS Mama because the baby has low mage defense and you can freeze the baby or entangle the baby without wasting a spec. Freezing is very good. It's free damage and you don't take any damage. So it really speeds up the room. Back in the day, you could technically still freeze Muta, but she was still invulnerable. So it was just sort of like idling. So what I don't know if it still does this. I don't know if they fixed this, but sometimes, particularly the baby, but Mama would do this too, it would glitch out and would go to heal. So Muta would become invulnerable, but would turn around and keep attacking you. So Muta would like glitch out, be invulnerable, but it would count as a healing phase. So like Muta wouldn't heal. It's already used the healing phase. It would glitch out, it would keep attacking you, but you couldn't do any damage. That was back in the day though. I don't know if that's fixed. It's all irrelevant because even if it does glitch out, it probably does. We just don't notice it.
We can hit it.
Yeah, because we're killing it through whatever. Which I think 60% is the threshold of when you want to freeze. But
60% it's going to start moving. So if you're the freezer and you're trying to get Mama, right before you start to see the 60%, send barrage after barrage after barrage, because it may splash. Chances are, unless you're in full mage gear with augury, it's probably going to splash. So when I'm the freezer, I just use my trident the whole time, and I just have my full mage gear on and freeze it. We're almost done. So if
we're almost done. We're
point,
almost there. It's the final boss. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We got our piles. TMD has given us our 40-minute explanation, and you're gonna follow me here. You're gonna click black. You're gonna drink an entire brew. You're gonna click purple. You're gonna sip one thing of Revite. You're going to drop your Revite, and then you're going to pick up your brew and your restore. And then Michael's going to start explaining Ohm. That's basically how we're going to go. So, Michael, what do you got for us?
The tip here is simple. Learn to run head. And that is coming from somebody who was a non-head enjoyer to now I am a head runner.
Damn it, I thought you were going to say head enjoyer. Damn it, Mike.
I'm a head enjoyer. I learned to run head, and I
Tiki,
learned to
get another
mage skip.
soundbite.
I mage skip, baby. So you don't have to come out of the gate swinging and like be the mage skipper. But in order for your time at Chambers to be the best time at Chambers, please, please, please don't be like me. Do not be like me. And you need to either sit at melee hand and take notes at what they're doing when they're running back and forth and rigorously try and learn it, or throw yourself into the flames, metaphorically and sometimes physically, and learn to go left, right. Learn to run head. It's not hard. The greatest feeling in the world is when you can learn to run head so efficiently that you can turn your prayer
Turn
off.
your overheads off. Yep, that does feel real good when you run it without the overheads. The only time running head ever gets chaotic is if you are... So why do you run head? Might as well explain that for you. Olm has 3 special attacks. He will put crystals under your feet, he'll send lightning around the room, and he'll open up a teleport. There is a way, if Olm, because Olm is very old, it has 2 different sets. It has a mage set and a melee set. If it is in a mage set, you can manipulate it by running head into essentially never sending a special attack. If it's in this correct set, correct orientation, you're running it properly, it's never going to give you that issue. It's never going to spawn a special. Because of that, learning to run head can be tricky when you're trying to get the head set. When you have to move Olm in a certain way so it sends a couple of attacks out. Because you're just running every couple of ticks. It's if you're using a regular trident, it's like 2 attacks per side, and then you run to the other one in general, right? If you're using a shadow, it's 1-ish attack, 1 or 2, just depending on the rotation. It gets complicated when you have to stay for 2 on one side. Your teacher will explain that to you when you're in there, but you're doing it to make the raids substantially easier for everybody so you don't take any specials. Running back and forth, ideally you don't take any damage. Some people will put the learner on a melee hand because there are less mechanics to interact with. I'm not a big fan of that because you get the shit beat out of you in melee hand because you're constantly taking hits and you're taking specials and you're taking poison and you're taking flame wall and you're taking the crystal walk and you're taking the fucking orbs that turn your prayer off. Like, on their own, none of them are particularly difficult, and when you are experienced at Chambers, most of those mechanics are pretty negligible when you're sitting melee hand, but when you're learning, it's just a lot of shit. So we run the head to avoid the specials and make the raid marginally easier, because when you're a head runner, you don't take that much damage when you do it properly. And then you go into the final phase of Olm, which is kind of a shit show with the crystals falling everywhere, and he's still doing his regular attacks, and you have a ton of food, ton of supplies. So yeah, that's why we do that. As a little bit of an explanation as to like what running head is and why it's important. That is why we tend to do that. So Michael's right. It's not complicated. It will get complicated if you have to sit for 2.
Set the head.
Yeah, but just
follow your
patient,
runner.
Be patient and follow the teacher who's usually the one doing the mage skipping. Don't worry about what mage skipping is if you don't already know it. Somebody else is going to mage skip if you're a learner in Chambers. I promise you that.
I do want to point out this is like quite literally the opposite of what you suggest in any other raid. Is like the hardest thing to do is melee hand. If you're a learner, it is hard. But Oxie's telling you to do the easy thing, which is mage skipping.
You're right. I don't even have a follow-up to that. I believe in that sense you're correct.
I think do melee hand because it's going to introduce you to these mechanics that could potentially desensitize you to the toughness of the raid. So if you're having to watch out for the orbs, that teaches you to pay attention to when potentially you are mage skipping. Because all of these things are going to come up if you're mage skipping. You're going to have to deal with acid. You're going to have to deal with the falling rock. You're going to have to deal with the orbs on top of having to learn the actual mage skipping routine. So if you can just stay on melee hand for like a dozen raids and learn to pay attention to the crystals on the floor and learn to like which orbs coming at you, so which prayer you have to turn on, there's just a bunch of mechanics that you don't get introduced to in an environment where it doesn't really matter. Because unlike these other 2 raids that we've been talking about, if you're in chambers and you die, just get right back in there, baby. You can just go back. You're not put in a cage, or you're not turned into a ghost. You can man the post again, pick up your supplies, and try again. It's the most learner-friendly raid of the 3. So
everyone says TOA is learner friendly. No, it's chambers, baby. Start with chambers. Do it old school. Start with chambers, because I ask any of my bingo teammates, experienced or inexperienced. I don't give a fuck how many times you die. You better get back in that goddamn room and finish this raid with us, because I want you to see it. And I think that's why I like when people run head when they learn to run head. I think I like it because unlike the other raids, there is no penalty for dying. So to your point, yes, it is a little contradictory of my learn the hard thing first, because you're going to get your ass kicked on the melee hand. Again, none of the mechanics are hard. It's just a lot of damage if you don't know what to do. I like mage hand, or I like, not mage hand, running head, because you can still see everything, right? I think if there was a way, if there was an e-girl roll, like a true e-girl roll at P2 Verzik, where everybody else had to V-walk, but all you had to do was stand still, I think we put the learner on the stand still roll. Because then you get to watch people do the V-walk. You get to watch them do the scythe walk, and you're like, okay, I get it. I see what's going on. So when you're running head and you're not taking any damage, but you're seeing the poison and the crystals and the orbs, and you're going to still take auto attacks, because if you are a first-time learner and you somehow manage to not fuck up the head, you're a god. You're a god gamer. I have never done a learner raid, literally never, where we try to do mage skipping, and at one point during the phases, it does not get fucked up somewhere. Because that's what happens. Learners make mistakes. You're not bad at the game. You've just never done it before. A good teacher won't get too frustrated at that, because they'll know it's coming and they'll figure out how to do it anyways. Because I promise you, your deaths do not negatively impact the rest of the team like they do in other raids. So just show up and die in chambers. But yeah, you are right. It is a little contradictory. I get that.
And finally, the CM Ohm is not much different, but it is different enough that we need to call this out. CM Ohm, as Oxie likes to say, will beat your ass. So if you are doing a challenge mode raid and you've made it to Ohm, the tip we have for you is just keep your health above 50. Because, why, Oxie? He can smack you in the face, even through prayer.
The through prayer hits are still 44s. I'm not kidding.
It's disgusting.
You'll pray properly, take a 40 through prayer, and you're like, what the fuck? Even off prayer, it's even worse. Keep your HP above 50. Regardless of what role you're doing, keep your HP above 50. Otherwise, Ohm doesn't change. It's not like with Wardens and Verzik, where hard mode Verzik is a lot. Where you have to bounce the green ball, and you have to deal with the falling rocks at P1, or the poison splats in P2, or the healing. It's not like Insanity, where the boss gets quicker and you got to remember where it was, and rocks and shit, and you're last drawing most of the fight. CM Ohm is just hey, what if Ohm was a bitch? It doesn't change the attack cycle. It doesn't change the order of the specials. It doesn't change anything, but it's hey, what if Ohm could hit you a 45 through prayer? That might be funny. Could be fun if it had more health and can hit you harder. That's literally all CM Ohm is. Just keep your HP higher than you think you need to. That's our tip for CM Ohm.
Yeah.
Honestly, low key, if you got Torva, or you don't care about having max DPS, because in a lot of situations you just don't, Blood Fury as a meleeer, Blood Fury period on the melee hand, regardless of if you're running or skipping or doing melee hand, Blood Fury at CM Ohm ain't too bad, because you shouldn't take a Blood Fury to regular chambers. It's not going to be worth it. CM Ohm will hit you hard enough where it is. And I again, not in a gatekeepy way, not in an elitist way. CM Ohm, my CMers out there, back me up. It's not different than regular Ohm. It just has more health and hits you stupid hard. So keep your HP above 50.
One final tip that I just thought of before we end this off. So we talked about the crystal phases briefly, and that reminded me. So after you've done both hands, you've killed them both, the final phase, P whatever, P17, because there's a lot of phases in
head phase.
Head phase in Ohm is literally just you're attacking the head with range and the crystals are falling on the ground. There are certain places that you need to stand in order for the head to turn left and right and keep everything even. But for the most part, if you have 3 or more people, it's going to be pretty much the same, just depending on how many people are in the middle. So you have one person on the right hand, one person on the left hand, and then between 1 and infinity in the middle. You can do other variations where, say, there's one person in the middle and there's like 2 people on each side. There are infinite possibilities. You just have to have equal number of people on the outside. But that's not the tip. That's just an explanation. The tip is what I do in the head phase to make my life easier is I will attack and then I will walk at least 2 tiles in any direction. This is going to allow you to dodge any crystal that could fall on you. Because if you're standing still, chances are you're going to take damage from a crystal falling on you or a crystal falling next to you. They're in a 3x3, a damage area of 3x3. So 9 tiles in a square is the damage radius for those crystals that fall. So as long as you are at least 2 tiles from where you're standing, you're not going to take damage. So I like to walk this tile, 2 tiles over, attack, and then right back to the same tile, walk 2 tiles back that way. Because the cool thing about the crystals is they're generally not going to fall where you just walked from. So if you're standing on tile A and a crystal is coming down on you, you walk to crystal B and you're standing on crystal B, it could fall on crystal A again, but it probably won't. It'll fall on crystal B, so then you walk back to A. It's very hard to explain in an audio format, and even just with like hand signals. If you're in the raid, just follow a pattern of walking back and forth 2 tiles. Kind of like what you do in Tecton. You just walk back, but just keep moving is the main point of that tip, because if you're moving, you're going to take less damage.
Yeah. Michael, we've gone and done it.
We've done it.
Do you remember way back in the day when we did that Moxie Takes Michael PVMing episode?
Yeah.
That was so much fun when we did that. If you guys weren't here for that, that was an extra episode we did years ago before TOA even came out. And I took Michael to entry mode Tob, Chambers. I took him to Nightmare. And then the very last part was like, all right, Michael, go to Fairy Ring BLP and you'll know where to go from there. And he fucking spawned into the Tazar area and he's like, am I doing the Inferno? And then we cut to the cool electric guitar music. That was super fun. That was a fun episode to do. But we've done it. We've made it through every single raid in 3.5 hours. It's a relatively slow time for 3 raids. But that is one tip for every room in every single raid. I think the only thing we missed is like what supplies to take at Tob. The answer is Stam, then Shark, and then whatever other brews and restores you need. I think we've covered pretty much everything else. But again, that's more mechanic than it is a tip. This has been a fun episode. This episode's gonna be long as shit because we're not even at the break yet. If you guys have hung out for this long, not even related to the community question, I want to know what your guys' favorite raid is. Maybe we'll put a poll on this episode. Answer the poll if you made it this far. What's your favorite raid? TOA, Cox, or Tob? Let us know what your favorite raid is. Is a correct answer, but we're not going to grade you on it.
And that poll will be on Spotify, by the way.
Yeah, the poll will be on Spotify, not on YouTube or anything like that. Or just tell us in the Xpwaste chat. It's been a good time. Been a good first half of the episode. Well, are we ready to send these people to break, Michael?
Yeah, let's do it. You guys deserve a break. We deserve a break. Listen to this commercial.
Deserve a break. It's been 3.5 hours. You definitely deserve a break.
You deserve a break. Enjoy this commercial, and we'll be back with the second half here in a minute.
What's up, Scapers? Are you guys ready for the greatest edition of the Grand Exchange since the Grand Exchange? You better be, cause it's time to join a clan, baby! That's right, come on down to the Grand Exchange and start your own clan with your friends!
Sorry, I'm already in a friends chat.
Oh, I'm already in a friends chat. Yeah? Does your friends chat have a formal rank structure? What about these sick-ass icons? And what about the clan hall? That's right, you heard me. Join a clan and get a free community mansion with a full unpaid staff. Wait a minute, we're not getting paid. Sign up today and I'll even throw in a free banner so you can hoist your colors. Use it to beat the shit out of some goblins so they'll know who sent you. Join a clan today, baby! Woo!
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that commercial break because I know that I sure did. So when I said that we'd be back in the second half for some different content, Oxie and I discussed it, and we have to kind of cut this one short, just given time constraints and all that fun stuff. So what we're going to do for this one is we're going to thank the patrons, we're going to answer a fun question, and we're going to send you guys off to do whatever it is you do after you stop listening to Xpwaste. So without further ado, yes. We're going to thank the patrons. So these are the folks that support us over on Patreon, and they give us money every month, and we shout them out and we give them lots and lots of love. First of all, we have a new Wise Old Man patron. His name is Brian M. Give it up for Brian M. He's hanging out in the recording booth with us. I think Brian has actually been here since we started recording at 8. I saw Brian in here at damn near 6:30 or 7 o'clock. He was ready.
He's been here the whole time.
Thank you to Brian M. for subscribing at the Wise Old Man tier. And on the screen now is all of our current Wise Old Man patrons. You guys are amazing. If you subscribe to the Wise Old Man tier, you get access to the recording booth. You get access to extra episodes. You get your name shouted out in quotations via the picture on the screen. But the first week that you subscribe and we have an episode, you're going to get your name shouted out. So that's why we shouted out Brian there. But thank you to all of our Wise Old Man patrons. You guys are amazing. Moving on over now to the KBD shoutouts. This next tier here was the original shoutout tier, but they have been superseded by the JAD tier, which I will mention in just a minute. But I did want to take a second and give some love to our KBD patrons for their support. Thank you so much, you guys. You guys are amazing. We appreciate everything you do for the show. And without further ado, shouting out the KBD patrons, we have Six Sticks Insider, Brooks 70, Oxie's dad, my dad, all of our dad, Cloud Kicker, Elite Oreo Dunker, Jax GIM, JX Riot, Lil Drakey, our third favorite Patreon supporter, Ralph, Run Metal 15, Rylithian, Sparky Life, and the Big G Jordy. That is our KBD tier of patrons. Same thing with the Wise Old Man. They get access to recording booth, extra episodes, but they do get a shout out every single episode. Moving on now to the last tier that we have. It is the Big Bad Jads. This is the Tiz Talk Jad tier. This is our largest tier here, and they are also going to get a shout out, and they are also going to receive merch. If you're part of the Jad tier, you get a special Patreon exclusive t-shirt sent to you for every 3 months that you subscribe in the Jad tier. So after 3 months, you'll get a shirt. 3 months later, you'll get a shirt. As long as you have your address in Patreon, you'll get a shirt. So if you'd like that, you can subscribe at the Jad tier. But we are going to shout out each and every one of them for their lovely support. So big thank you and big shout out to Captain Crash, Flood Day, Kyrandia, Mithril Fork, Oxie's Satanic Femboy 666, Petite River, Rain Falls Red, Soggy Waffles, and Woloznik. Big shout out to Woloznik. This is the first time I have seen them in the recording booth. They're hanging out with us today, and we appreciate you, King. Appreciate you. That is it for our Patreons. If you guys want to support at any tier that we have available, you can head on over to patreon.com/Xpwaste. We have tiers ranging all the way from $1 to $50, as you just heard. And we appreciate every single one of you who support us. Even if you're not in the shout out tier, you are special in our hearts. Shout out to Gnome Child and shout out to Party Pete Tiers. Like I said, patreon.com/Xpwaste. This is the point in the episode where normally I would go into the community question. But given some unforeseen circumstances with our real life, we are going to cut this one short and skip the community question and the achievement of the week this week. We're going to pick them back up next week. But so yeah, that means if you haven't answered the community question from last week's episode, go ahead on Spotify and or YouTube and answer the question there that we had asked you guys. But for this week, there will be no community question and no achievement of the week. And we're just going to go straight into the fun question. And I have the distinct pleasure of being the one to say this. It doesn't happen often because generally Oxie's the one who tees this up. But I have to say, Oxie, do you have a fun question for us?
As a matter of fact, I do. This one comes from the Xpwaste Fun Questions channel. Unarmed Toaster has asked us, they have a little setup here. They say, old school RuneScape is often used as a poster child for simple animation. Sometimes it's a little bit unfair, but simple animation in old school RuneScape. If you guys do me a favor and turn GPU and animation smoothing off, it is pretty simple. Like turning animation smoothing off, killing these worms, especially with GPU off and animation smoothing off, it's definitely simple. It's very blocky. But with GPU on and animation smoothing on, it's very pretty in RuneLite. What Unarmed Toaster wants to know is, what animation has you impressed with the flavor, characterization, or readability, right? As an example, Unarmed Toaster has said Duke Succulus. Just the way Duke moves is pretty standout. So what to you, Michael, are some of your favorite animations that you see in RuneScape? With or without animation smoothing on, what are some of your favorites that you see?
Most recently, I've been very impressed by some of the new animations that they put into PVM encounters. Most notably, Yama has some of the coolest animations that I've seen and some of the coolest effects that I've seen in a boss in a long time. The flame wall, instead of it just being like how in like I don't know, Zebek is an example of something that's like kind of chunky and silly with the water waves. They don't really look like waves. They just look like floating masses that happen to be called waves. If they did something like that where it looked like actual water that was coming at you, it would be cooler. But in Yama, the firewalls are crisp. They're very nice. I remember the first time I saw that encounter, I was like, wow, our game engine can handle something like that. That is beautiful. So that's probably the most recent thing that I've been impressed by. Smoothness of animation says it's changed throughout the years as the tech has been upgraded, as like the artists have gotten better. Things have just become more refined. So you could look at it like a scale that just over time things have gotten better. But Yama seems to be one of the things that I find the most visually appealing.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm about to say it. I think TOA has some of the most impressive animations in the game. 100%. I think TOA has some of the most impressive animations in the game. I remember what stood out to me. Zebek stood out a lot when we first started doing it. Kefri, like if you really pay attention to the Kefri fight without low detail on, there are so many bugs that float around her. There's so much going on with Kefri, right? That like is very intricate when she kind of shoots up or jumps or dies or whatever. Looking at a boss like Akka, where Akka can twirl his spear, stomp it back into the ground. Like it's a very cool set of animations. And then particularly P3, everything in Wardens is just, it's beautiful. The way the floor moves so fluidly, the way that the skulls send the health back all in sync, right? The way that the floor tiles really seem to like, it's a chunky animation. It looks a little blocky, but it almost looks like it's pulling that much where the floor tiles are sort of like getting ripped one by one as the floor sort of disintegrates, which was genuinely the scariest thing I'd ever seen when we first did that raid. That was fucking horrifying. And then just the smoothness with which Warden goes side to middle with the stomping. Like, I think the entirety of TOA is a masterclass in how the simple animations of RuneLite or RuneScape really, really just can be pushed to the absolute limit. The couple other honorable mentions that I have, Vedion. Oh, particularly what really impressed me so much when they redid the wilderness bosses. When Vedion does some attacks, he'll drag his sword on the ground.
Oh yeah.
The Khopesh, he'll drag it on the ground and it will fucking spark when it does. Oh, that's one of my favorite animations, period, in the game.
Nice.
When that Khopesh drags the ground and it sparks on the floor, That's beautiful. The other honorable mention I'm going to shout out is the Shiin rework. It's much smaller, much less grandiose. And I guess this applies to Varlamore as well. The way they animate their animals in the last 4 or 5 years is so nice. Like, you can tell the stages when an animal came out. Like, if you look at something like a bears, I think bears may have gotten the rework, but like, look at a cow, for example. The way a cow moves, the way a chicken moves, you know, they're okay.
They're
Look
very
at something
old
like
school.
look at like a unicorn. You can tell they're trying to do the graphical update, like pre-graphical update, but still RS2. Like, it's when like the new guards and shit came out, the new Camelot people came out. Like, they were trying to make it look better with like the way the unicorns move. But then go look at the Gemsbach, or go look at the leopards, or go look at the lynx or the boars. You know, even go as far as like how they took this beautiful animation and then manipulated it when they're infected with the strangler parasite. Like, they have done such a good job of making the fauna in RuneScape look incredible, right? And even with animation smoothing turned off, like if I turn it off again, it's definitely been within the last couple of years that they've made it look better. Because like even worms, how the worms move, I'm on a worms task right now. The way that they kind of slither along the ground, even with smoothing turned off, it's very smooth. Like, we turn smoothing on, it doesn't make that much of a difference with the way these worms move. And I love that. I think the art team in Old School has done a remarkable job of not only upping the ante with every single update that comes out, but also sticking to the formula. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
No boss feels graphically out of place, other than maybe Sire. But that was a different time. We don't talk about that. But like, no boss, regardless of how complex it is, graphically feels like it doesn't belong in the game. Whenever you play a game like Call of Duty or even Halo, and they have like cat girl ears or something, or like you'll be playing Call of Duty and then all of a sudden Nicki Minaj rounds the corner and kills you in Warzone. Like, it really breaks the immersion. And I think RS3 does a terrible job of this, which is something we probably could also talk about. RS3 and their MTX policies. Did you see that video?
Yeah.
I was going to say, Mod North really had to come out here, get shit all over by the Old School community, and then dump the greatest update RS3 could possibly see with these experimental MTX changes. And one of them is going to be a no cosmetics set of worlds, where the game looks a little bit more grounded, where they're turning off those paid cosmetics. And I think we're going to notice a substantial difference in how people like interact with the game. Don't get me wrong, people will argue back and forth like, Oath Plate is too much, bring back old Torva, like what are we like, why doesn't Missouri look like that? Like, it all looks old school.
Mm-hmm.
It's graphically more intense. You couldn't have done Oath Plate in 2008. Are you fucking kidding me? Look at that armor. Look at Radiant Oath Plate and tell me that's something they could have pulled off in 2008. God Wars armor is what they could have pulled off in 2008. Look at Armadillo, how sharp and blocky and pixelated that looks. Stick it up against Fortified Missouri. Oh, God, they couldn't do that back then. So, yeah, you can argue that, like, some of it looks a little different, but it's all to style and it all sticks to the same formula. And I love that. We are very lucky to have the designers that we do. To say content I can roast, but with music and art, I generally tend to glaze a lot when it comes to the music and the visuals of Old School RuneScape. So call me biased, but those are my answers.
Love
Those
it.
are the ones that stick out to me.
An honorable mention is Colosseum. Any of the NPCs in Colosseum, I would think, fall into like masterclass of design. The way the Manticore walks, the way that the Minotaur looks so detailed but still old school. The tall guys,
That's
like all of them.
the craziest part, because like I thought Colosseum myself too. Colosseum looks old school.
Yeah, it does.
Colosseum looks so old school, but it's so new. And then you get to Soul and this boss, this giant automaton with a light up spear and the ability to smash the ground and do all sorts of crazy shit with how it moves so fluidly. It looks like it's perfect. Like it's designed with old school graphics in mind.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Love it.
Definitely Coliseum. Well, thank you, Unarmed Toaster, for that fun question. Definitely a fun one. I feel like we could do an entire episode on some of these fun questions, and that one definitely falls in that category of like, you can get Oxie and I to yap about graphics and art.
Oh God, we really can. Because I'm
we
sure
could
there's
just-
ones I forgot.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure there are like even some like phase transitions. Like I really like the way Hydra turns its head when it switches styles. I really like the way Hydra turns its head. I don't know,
and
I
just
could
falls
talk
off
about
and
this
disintegrates. Yeah.
No, like when it goes from like range to mage, how it like does the little twirl and shit.
Oh,
Like
that's a new addition.
I could talk. There's a lot new within the last like 3 years, but yeah, it's good stuff.
But yeah, that's going to do it for the fun question. If you guys want to send us a fun question for us to answer on the show, you can do it so many different ways. You can send it in the fun question section on Discord if you're a patron. You can send us a postcard. You can send us an email. You can send me a DM. You can post it in the Xpwaste chat. There's a bunch of different ways. But that's going to do it for the fun question, guys. And that's also going to do it for the episode. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, we appreciate the hell out of you. We hope that each and every one of these tips was useful for you and your rating journey. If it wasn't, and we missed something that you think is very important, let us know in the Xpwaste chat. Keep the conversation going. We have many different channels here in our TNL Discord dedicated to learning. So if you are interested in that, hit up somebody in the Team Search channel if you're in the TNL Discord, or just let us know. Like, hey, if you see a bunch of people in VC, ask if somebody wants to raid. It's really not that difficult, and you're not going to get shunned because we are a very, very learner-friendly community. If that's one thing I know about this community is people are very friendly and they're friendly to learners. So come and hang out. This generally we would plug the Discord, but we didn't do it this time. But if you do want to hang out with us outside of the show and in game, you can join our Discord, discord.gg/OSRSTNL. The link will be in the description. And speaking of the description, that's where you'll find all of the other links that you could need, some of the tile markers, potentially the links to some of the simulators are going to be in the description. So check all those out. And it's going to be in the show notes if you're on like an audio platform, in the description of the video if you're on YouTube. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. Oxie won't be here next week, but I will have a very, very, very special guest who you will just have to find out who it is next week. So speaking of that, we'll see you guys then. Bye.
Bye, everyone.